Chapter 2582. Those cultivators who were meditating and recovering from their injuries suddenly opened their eyes, and a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. They quickly stood up and looked around in bewilderment. Damn it, what's that sound? Many people trembled and pointed in front of them, almost kneeling on the ground. The purple coffin moved. It moved and the sound came from inside. What? A third coffin. The expressions of the elders and saints changed. Lin Xian's pupils also constricted. He also saw the purple coffin move just now. Moreover, the sound came from inside the purple coffin. The third coffin contains the corpse of a saint. Could it be that the corpse of a saint had changed? Don't joke around. If the corpse of a saint is resurrected, we're all finished. Let's go, let's go. Those people's scalps went numb. They did not care about their injuries and retreated one after another. Whoosh whoosh. However, at that moment, a strange sound was heard again as if someone was breathing. The sound rang clearly in their ears and many of them were so scared that they peed their pants. Those elders also turned their heads abruptly, and their faces were pale. A sharp light appeared in Lin Xian's eyes, and it even formed a pair of golden eyes above his head. He looked down at the ground. Where did that sound come from? What a trick! A series of cold shouts were heard. Lin Xian's gaze was fixed on the purple coffin. The sound of breathing came from inside the coffin. He said in a deep voice, "What? The sound of breathing came from inside the coffin? Kid, don't joke around." That's right. Although your eye technique is powerful, you can't scare us like that. Those young disciples were about to cry. What kind of joke is this? That's the corpse of a saint buried there. If the corpse of a saint can breathe, could it be that it's coming back to life? Xing Tian, elderly, and the others looked solemn. The dark red divine dragon was also shocked. Kid, are you sure you're not mistaken? Brother Xian. Murong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu also looked over. Countless gazes gathered on Lin Xian. Lin Xian nodded. I can't be wrong. The breathing is coming from there. Everyone felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Many of them immediately knelt on the ground. The elders of the Yi family and the Gu family also turned pale. Palace Master Lin is right. We also sensed it. It can't be, right? Everyone's hearts went cold and their faces turned pale. This corpse was tens of thousands of years old. How could it still be breathing? Breathing meant that he was alive. A sage who had lived for tens of thousands of years. If this news were to spread, it would probably shock the entire world. This was impossible. The elders shook their heads frantically. Even a great emperor couldn't live that long, let alone a saint. But what's with that breathing sound? The people of the Jade Lake sacred ground were also puzzled. The elder of the Wavering Light Holy Land said, "Don't panic. It might not be what we think." After all, the saint's tomb was special. Just because there were breathing sounds didn't mean that the saint was still alive. That was indeed the case. Hearing this speculation, many people's expressions eased, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. As soon as he finished speaking, the people of the Wavering Light Holy Land regretted it. Their faces even turned green. They weren't the only ones. Everyone was stunned. Lin Xian and the others also looked incomparably solemn. The young martial artists were so scared that they wet their pants. That was because the third purple coffin in front of them was making cracking sounds, and then it slowly opened. That was not the end. A figure slowly rose from the coffin like an elevator. It rose from the bottom of the coffin to the top. This made it so that everyone could see it without getting too close. There was indeed a corpse. There was a figure lying on the purple jade platform. Around the corpse, there was a small stream of crystal clear water droplets that flowed in all directions. The water didn't flow outside, but all of it fell from the jade platform into the purple coffin. At this moment, everyone's injured bodies recovered in an instant. The effect was even more terrifying than the undying leaves. Heavens, what are these water droplets? It must be a supreme treasure. A supreme treasure for recovery and healing. Everyone was overjoyed. Those from the sacred grounds who didn't get too many undying leaves before were even more envious. Of course, they were only envious. None of them dared to go forward. In fact, these people kept retreating. The spring of life, this is the spring of life. The spring of life that was rumored to be able to bring bones back to life. Everyone went crazy. The elders of the Yi family and the Gu family were also breathing rapidly. Even Xing Tian, elderly, and the others were trembling with excitement. Lin Xian had also heard of this name, but he had only seen it in ancient books. He didn't expect to see it in real life. At the side, the dark red divine dragon's face was ugly. Damn it, what was this sage trying to do? First, there were so many divine crystals, then the undying leaves, and now the spring of life. These were all treasures that contained powerful vitality. Coupled with the legendary triple immortal suppression coffin, could it be that this sage was really trying to revive? As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. It couldn't be. Could it really be possible for someone to come back from the dead? Other than being turned into a puppet or a zombie, they had never seen anyone who could come back from the dead. Puppets and zombies were beyond normal resurrection. They couldn't be considered resurrection at all. Huff huff. Just as the crowd was discussing spiritedly, the sound of breathing was heard once again. This time around the crowd was able to hear it clearly. It was coming from the corpse lying before them. Everyone's scalps went numb, and a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. They couldn't see the corpse clearly because the corpse was wearing armor. The armor covered the corpse's entire body. Only a pair of eyes were exposed, but they were still closed. It must be said that when they saw the armor, the crowd exclaimed in surprise. That was because the armor was too exquisite. It was more exquisite than any armor they had ever seen. The streamlines on the armor were natural, as if it was a supreme treasure of heaven and earth. Runes and Dao runes interweaved with each other, forming an exquisite pattern that covered the armor. It's really good stuff. If we can get this thing back, who in this world will be our match? Just as everyone was panicking, a cold voice sounded. Then 5 or 6 figures rushed forward like ghosts. Who's that? Are they tired of living? Lin Xian was surprised. The others also exclaimed in surprise. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Damn it, they're from the Chasing Corpse sect. Oh no, what are they trying to do? The elders of the Yi family and the Gu family exclaimed in surprise. The others also came back to their senses. Is the Chasing Corpse sect from that ancient sacred ground in Nanjiang? They're here too. Damn it, did they hide before this? No one had seen them before. They thought that the other party must have been in disguise. Now that they saw the saint's corpse, did the Chasing Corpse sect finally lose their patience? The Chasing Corpse sect was a sacred ground in Nanjiang. It was very ancient and mysterious. That sect was very special. Their main method of attack was to use corpses and control corpses. In their view, corpses were their weapons and their source of strength. And those people from the Chasing Corpse sect did it. They refined corpses. The Dharma treasures formed were very terrifying and powerful. However, they didn't expect those people from the Chasing Corpse sect to be so bold as to set their eyes on the saint's corpse. Could it be that they have a way to obtain the saint's corpse? What a joke. No one dared to believe it. Is the saint's corpse so easily obtained? Chapter 2583. Everyone's scalps went numb as they retreated crazily. The 6 elders of the Chasing Corpse sect still arrived near the corpse. The 6 of them stood in 6 directions and quickly formed seals with their palms. Terrifying black holes appeared one after another. In front of them, 6 corpses appeared. Whoosh. The 6 zombies opened their bloody mouths and spat out 6 black rays of light that intertwined in the sky. They formed a large black net that enveloped the area below. It covered the corpse of the saint. Including the purple coffin, it enveloped everything and wanted to take it away. Could this be the legendary Hell's magic net? It could see everything in the world? An elder of the Thousand Calamity sect said. Now that you mention it, I remember that the Chasing Corpse sect does have such a treasure. I didn't expect them to bring it. The elders of the other sacred grounds also turned pale. Damn it, they couldn't have succeeded, right? Many people became nervous and their eyes turned red. Although the 3rd coffin was dangerous, it was the corpse of a saint. If they brought it back, they would definitely make a fortune. A saint's body was full of treasures. A wisp of saint's might could destroy the world. If they could obtain this saint's corpse, it would be equivalent to a huge treasure trove. Moreover, the saint was wearing a set of armor. It was probably a saint's artifact. Not to mention the saint's corpse, just the spring of life in the 3rd coffin was enough to make them jealous. This was the spring of life that could revive bones and had a strong vitality. It was very rare and could not be seen outside. It's us. The 6 elders of the Chasing Corpse sect had ferocious expressions as their eyes emitted a dark green light. The Hell's magic net carefully enveloped the saint's corpse and the purple coffin. Damn it, hurry up and attack. Finally, someone could not help but roar. They naturally wanted a share of the loot. However, Lin Xian's pupils constricted as he quickly waved his hand and said, "Let's go." At the same time, the dragon sword's spiritual domain enveloped everyone. Just as he finished doing this, an earth-shattering sound was heard. Between heaven and earth, countless rays of light shone as if it was the light of destruction. A black hole was drawn in the sky and it directly shattered. The 6 elders of the Chasing Corpse sect and the 6 zombies were all enveloped. A miserable sound was heard, causing everyone's scalps to go numb. Quick, defend. The people from the Holy Lands and major sects were so frightened that they hurriedly used their trump cards to defend themselves. The terrifying fluctuations came and went quickly. In an instant he disappeared. Everyone thought that they were dreaming. However, the shattered spell formation around them and the shattered armor they wore indicated that the spiritual power fluctuations they had sensed just now had indeed existed. Lin Xian also withdrew the dragon sword domain and they looked forward. Then he drew in a breath of cold air. Up ahead, the people of the Chasing Corpse sect had already disappeared without a trace. Not even a drop of blood was left behind. Not only the 6 elders of the Chasing Corpse sect, but their 6 zombies had also disappeared. Even that terrifying treasure, the Hell Weave, had disappeared. What? Everyone was shocked. Was this the power of a saint? This was too terrifying. In an instant it could kill a peerless expert. However, this was not what frightened them the most. What terrified them the most was that the corpse in front of them was actually sitting up. That's right, he did sit up. His upper body was upright as he sat on the purple jade platform. Damn it, what's going on? Could it be that the sage had been resurrected? Everyone trembled. Fuck. Chasing Corpse sect, I'll remember you. If I can return alive, I'll kill every member of the Chasing Corpse sect I meet in the future. Many people went crazy. It was all because of the damn Chasing Corpse sect that they had to make a move. If they didn't make a move, the sage's corpse definitely wouldn't have changed. And it wouldn't have sat up like now. Who knew if the other party would have survived? Because they should have been able to feel that the sage was indeed breathing. A corpse was breathing. This made them think that the sage in front of them shouldn't be dead. It was as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. I've encountered such a situation before. If a person is sealed in a divine crystal or the spring of life, they can indeed be preserved for tens of thousands of years without dying. However, in that case the amount of divine crystals and the spring of life required was extremely large, to an unimaginable extent. On top of that, only martial monarchs or supreme saints were able to do it. Could it be that the sage in front of them was like that? When these words were said, everyone was shocked. Those elders all had terrified expressions on their faces. They had naturally heard of this possibility. That was because in the past, a powerful seeker spirit master had once cut open the stone transported out of the Primordium ancient mine. At that time they cut out such a thing. That stone was very large, dozens of meters tall. In the end, a divine crystal that was more than 10 meters tall was cut out. That divine crystal was incomparably resplendent. However, what was terrifying was that there was actually something sealed in the divine crystal. A monstrous beast. In the end, it was jointly taken away by the people of several clans of the ancients. Moreover, this matter was quickly suppressed and only became a legend. However, it was spread among the great sage lands. At this moment, when they saw the strange thing in front of them, they naturally recalled the previous legend. However, the people of the Gu family frowned. That shouldn't be. The corpse was clearly not sealed. Although it was soaked in the spring of life, it was completely different from being directly sealed by the spring of life. If it wasn't sealed, it wouldn't be able to survive for tens of thousands of years in the spring of life. Moreover, if it wasn't dead, why would it spend so much effort to build an ancient tomb? What exactly was the reason? Everyone was puzzled. Lin Xian, the dark red dragon, and the others also frowned. However, Elder Li's body trembled slightly. Not only him but Elder Lu, Elder Wang and the other 2 also felt the same. Xing Tian also had a frightened expression as if he had seen a ghost. Xing Tian, Elder Li, what did you find? Lin Xian asked in a deep voice. He noticed that the expressions of these elders were not right. Meanwhile, Elder Li, Xing Tian and the others were staring ahead intently. No way, how could it be? How could it be that thing? Not to mention Lin Xian and the others, even Peacock, Hu Yidao and the young martial artists of the Immortal Palace were puzzled. At this moment, the elders of the surrounding sacred lands also looked over. Fellow cultivator, what did you find? The elder of the Jade Lake sacred ground asked in confusion. This, Elder Li and the others did not say anything. They discussed with each other. Xing Tian sighed. Forget it, we can't hide it. We'll find out sooner or later. This matter is already beyond our control. Hurry up and call for help. What's going on? As soon as he said that, the surrounding people were shocked. Lin Xian was even more puzzled. Elder Li took a deep breath. Chapter 2584. Elder Li took a deep breath. He also knew that this matter could not be hidden, so he spoke in a deep voice. The Yuhua Immortal Robe. What, the Yuhua Immortal Robe? As soon as these words came out, the eyelids of the elders of the Yi family, Yaoguang's sacred land, and Gu family twitched fiercely. Their eyes erupted with an incomparable light, and the aura on their bodies swept through the 9 heavens. In the next moment, they stared fixedly at the corpse of the saint who was sitting up in front of them. To be precise, it was the clothes on the corpse of the saint. Could it be that this was the legendary Yuhua immortal robe? Heavens, no way, wasn't that a legend? Could it really exist? These elders were stunned. Those young disciples were very puzzled. Elder, what was the Yuhua immortal robe? Yes, was it very precious? Was it a saint's magic treasure? They had never seen their elder so agitated. It should be a saint's magic treasure. However, the elders of the great sage shook their heads. The Yuhua immortal robe had probably surpassed the saint's magic treasure. It was a supreme treasure between heaven and earth, and it was very magical. Rumor had it that wearing the Yuhua immortal robe could bring the dead back to life. One could even live forever. What? Bring the dead back to life? Immortality? At this moment, those young disciples were all stunned. Their breathing became rapid and their eyes were red. They also stared fixedly at the figure in front of them. However, Yi Wudao, No Flower, the Prince of Great Xia, and the others frowned. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Immortality? Bring the dead back to life? How was this possible? Wasn't it said that even great emperors couldn't escape death? If they didn't become immortals, they would eventually become a pile of dust. This was also the reason why everyone was so obsessed with becoming an immortal. Because only by becoming an immortal could one have eternal life and immortality. But now, these elders were telling them that a Yuhua immortal robe could allow one to live forever. This directly impacted their understanding. If there was such a treasure, how could it be in the hands of a saint? It must have been taken away by the great emperor. No, the Yuhua immortal robe was very magical. It had not appeared for hundreds of thousands of years or even longer. It only existed in extremely ancient legends. We even thought that it was impossible for the Yuhua immortal robe to exist. But who would have thought that it would appear again? Everyone was shocked. However, there were also people who were doubtful. That might not be the case. Perhaps Immortal Palace's people couldn't be sure that this was Feather Immortal. That's right. The others were also puzzled. Wasn't this corpse breathing before? We suspect that it was sealed by the divine crystal and the spring of life, and that's why it survived until now. From the looks of it, that might not be the case. The saint might really be dead. However, he wore the Yuhua immortal robe and lived through countless years. What? The dead had come back to life. Everyone felt as if they were listening to a legend. Could it really be the effect of the Yuhua immortal robe? Everyone was shocked. But then again, how could a corpse breathe? With the addition of the legend of the Yuhua immortal robe, everything could be explained. Thinking of this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Many people were going crazy. They did not expect that they would actually encounter the legendary Yuhua immortal robe. This was a blessing that they had accumulated over several lifetimes. The Feather Immortal Yi had disappeared for over 100,000 years. Even some martial monarchs had never seen him before. But now they actually saw it. Boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out. Then the void split open and the world lost its color. Surging death chi filled the air, and an incomparably terrifying black palm pierced through the sky like a demonic mountain. It shrouded the area below. As soon as the black palm appeared, many people directly fell to the ground, and even more people vomited blood and flew out. Their faces were full of horror. The elders and saints of the various great sage lands also felt their scalps go numb as they quickly retreated. Lin Xian and the others also retreated rapidly. Elderly instantly summoned his magic arsenal, and countless puppets completely surrounded Lin Xian and the others. Damn it, it's an invincible king. An invincible king has appeared. An old man exclaimed, and with a bang, his body split open and turned into a bloody mist. Seeing this scene, everyone screamed. That was a peerless mighty figure, but he was actually shattered by the aftermath of the energy. One could imagine that it was definitely an extremely heaven-defying energy. In addition to the previous voice, they believed that an invincible king had really appeared. Was it the guardian of the ancient tomb? Everyone immediately thought of this possibility, because there was a woman in white next to him. However, they soon discovered that it wasn't her. Although this black palm carried a sky full of death chi, it was incomparably terrifying. However, it wasn't the guardian of the ancient tomb. It was someone from the Chasing Corpse sect. It was the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect who had made a move. The Yuhua immortal robe must belong to our Chasing Corpse sect. The huge palms smashed the surroundings and countless black auras drooped down. It was like the demonic aura from hell rolling over. It spread out in all directions, completely sealing the entire space. Damn it! Leaf Daudenier roared, and his golden chi and blood surged into the sky. A golden giant stood indomitable. The immortal king descends to the 9 heavens. This was his terrifying technique, and he wanted to destroy everything in all directions. But this time, the boundless black aura completely suppressed the immortal king descends to the 9 heavens. Leaf Daudenier kept retreating, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Damn it! Protect Daudenier. Howling, the elders of the Yi clan sent 4 experts to surround Leaf Daudenier and protect him. Leaf Daudenier was their Yi family's sacred physique, and they absolutely couldn't allow anything to happen to him. The Yi family's sacred physique was indeed worthy of its reputation. It could actually block a wisp of my aura. A cold voice sounded between heaven and earth. As soon as this voice came out, many people directly exploded. Those who were weak couldn't bear it at all. Even the elders, saints and saintesses couldn't help but vomit blood. Lin Xian also felt the impact. He felt the chi and blood in his body tumbling, as if his body was about to explode. It was terrifying. Was this the power of an invincible king? Lin Xian was shocked. Next to him, the dark red divine dragon and the others roared in anger. Damn it, they actually brought an invincible king here. They were about to go crazy. The huge palm in the sky rumbled in all directions. It was like an ancient demonic mountain, pressing down on everyone until they couldn't breathe. The invincible king didn't reveal his true body. Just a palm was enough to sweep in all directions. He injured Leaf Daudenier with one palm, then stared at the Alcade Saint. Boom. He waved his palm gently and boundless black aura spread out, turning into a black dragon that rushed towards the Alcade Saint. Not only that, but many black dragons appeared in the sky. In addition to the Alcade Saint, they also rushed towards Lin Xian, the Grand Xia Prince, No Flower, Murong Qingqing, Shinjingqiu Yenryu and the others. Chapter 2585. Not good. Damn it. Get lost. The saints roared crazily. The dragon-patterned cauldron trembled and grew larger in the sky. It was like a mountain was crushing the void. On Wuhua's side, boundless Buddha phantoms appeared on his body, looking very mysterious. The golden sword in the hands of the great Xia prince turned into a golden dragon, roaring in all directions. A green light rushed out of Yenryu's body. Murong Qingqing waved her phoenix wing golden fan, sending out a phoenix phantom. Shinjingqiu shouted. Boundless purple aura spread out from her body. It was like a purple aura coming from the east. It was extremely mysterious. It wrapped around her completely. Lin Xian's expression was serious, as if he was facing a great enemy. He used all his strength to activate the great dragon sword soul, and a terrifying dragon roar sounded between heaven and earth. Then it turned into a dragon-shaped sword shadow and slashed forward. Boom boom boom. The other saints and saintesses attacked at the same time. Terrifying energy rolled between heaven and earth, and the void was completely shattered. Boom boom boom. Figures retreated one after another, spitting out mouthfuls of blood in the sky, dyeing it red. At this moment, whether it was Lin Xian Yenryu or the others, they were all injured. It couldn't be helped. Their opponent was an invincible king. Although it was just a light attack from an invincible king, it was still not something they could resist. Top geniuses and peerless geniuses were nothing more than this. You want to climb the path of the great emperor? The invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect said in a disdainful voice. His black palm was full of killing intent. Damn it! You dare to attack us? The elders of the Yi and Gu families were furious. They didn't expect the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect to be so crazy. He dared to attack all the top geniuses. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to kill all the top geniuses? They didn't dare to imagine. The others were also frightened. The saints trembled. If Yi Wudao, the great Xia prince, and the other top geniuses died here, there would be an earth-shattering shock in the outside world. Not to mention the other holy sons and holy daughters, just the fact that Yi Wudao had died was enough to send the Yi clan into a frenzy. At that time, it was very likely that he would become a living fossil of the Yi clan, and he would wield an extreme weapon to wipe out the Chasing Corpse sect. Just thinking about this scene made one's scalp go numb. After all, once an extreme weapon appeared, it was no longer just the Chasing Corpse sect's problem. That was because its power was simply too terrifying. It could definitely cause endless territories to sink. This was definitely an earth-shattering catastrophe. Therefore, the crowd could not understand why the Chasing Corpse sect was so bold. If I kill all of you, the news won't spread. The invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect said coldly. The light on the black palm became more and more terrifying, and boundless demonic chi spread out. At this moment, everyone coughed up blood once more. Lin Xian, Leaf Dao Denier, and the other elders were all infuriated. However, they couldn't resist at all. However, before the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect could make his move, another shocking change occurred. In the sky, the blood of Leaf Dao Denier, Yen Ryu, Murong Qingqing, and the other prodigies gathered in the air and did not disappear. Instead, it turned into a red light that flew towards the sage's corpse. Then all the blood was absorbed into the sage's corpse. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Even the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect exclaimed in surprise. In the next moment, a pair of black eyes appeared in the sky and stared coldly at the sage's corpse below. Damn it, what's going on? Why is the corpse sucking blood? He didn't know, but he felt that things might be serious. But, as expected, his guess was right. After the blood of the top prodigies entered the sage's corpse, the sage's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. Rays of terrifying light swept in all directions, like a peerless heavenly blade that cut through the void. Wherever it passed, nothing could withstand it. Crack, crack. Terrifying cracks spread out, and everyone frantically retreated. At this moment, the great sage and the clan of the ancients all revealed their trump cards. But, on the Yi family's side, a golden cauldron floated above them, completely enveloping them. On Lin Xian's side, Elderly took out a decree. In the sky, countless terrifying runes flickered. They weren't the only ones. At this moment, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, Zixia Sacred Ground, Wavering Light Sacred Ground, Fei Imperial Palace, Gu Family, and all the other sacred grounds and sects didn't hold back at all. This was because if they didn't use their final trump cards, they might be killed by this pressure. Terrifying light erupted in the sky, and intense sounds collided. The palm of the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect bore the brunt of the impact. His large black palm was impacted by the sage's power, and suddenly the sky and earth shook. The large black palm kept slapping, shattering the entire sky. However, in the face of the sage's power, he couldn't withstand it at all. In an instant, the large black palm was torn into pieces. In the sky, the pair of black eyes became blurry and even filled with fear. Boom. The void shattered, and a figure appeared in the sky. He was like a demon king, and his aura made people tremble. The invincible king had appeared. That's right, the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect finally couldn't hold back anymore. His true body had appeared. In front of him there was an incomparably pitch-black corpse. It was similar to him, but it was expressionless. This was a zombie that he had refined, and it was also the corpse of an invincible king. It was very terrifying. At this moment he had used the invincible king zombie to its limit. At the same time, a large black net floated above his head. Hell's demonic net. It was the treasure of the Chasing Corpse sect. Previously, everyone thought that the Hell's demonic net had shattered, but they didn't expect it to be taken away by this invincible king. Now that it was displayed again, it was truly terrifying. After all, the strength of an invincible king was much stronger than that of a peerless almighty. In addition to the Hell's demonic net, two more things appeared beside the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect. One was a black bead that looked like an eye. It was very strange. The other was a black demonic saber that emitted a strong aura of death. Obviously, the invincible king didn't dare to be careless in the face of the sage's corpse. He had to go all out. Whoosh. The others retreated crazily. In a battle of this level, just a wisp of energy was enough to kill them. Fortunately, their elders had already used their shocking trump cards to protect them. Otherwise, no one would be able to survive. On the Immortal Palace's side, Lin Xian's face was pale. He swallowed a few drops of earth spirit liquid, and the bones in his body crackled. Previously, when he was resisting the aura of the invincible king, he was injured. Fortunately, he had many natural treasures in his hands and he had recovered. Chapter 2586. The current situation had already exceeded his ability to control and endure. Not to mention him, even these elders would not be able to interfere at all. Sure enough, Elderly didn't attack. He used a top-grade puppet to protect the people of Immortal Palace. The decree above his head floated in the air. Mysterious runes flickered in the sky. Don't hesitate anymore, Xing Tian said. Hearing this, Elderly nodded his head. Then he, Xing Tian, Elder Wang and Elder Lu quickly formed hand seals. The golden decree trembled non-stop as it slowly opened. The golden decree was only half opened. At this moment it seemed to be fully opened. "Welcome, Great Guardian." Xing Tian, elderly, and the others said respectfully. Their expressions were extremely sincere. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. Peacock, Hu Yidao, and the other Immortal Palace martial artists trembled. Their eyes were filled with shock. Could it be? Before they could think of anything, the golden decree suddenly shone brightly and turned into a golden waterfall, spinning in the sky. The golden runes formed a mysterious array that tore through the void. A figure emerged from the golden light that filled the sky. This was a man who wore battle armor. He looked extremely valiant and extraordinary. As soon as he appeared, he shattered the void. His aura swept through the 9 heavens. His aura wasn't any weaker than the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect. Invincible king, another invincible king. After the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect, the invincible king of Immortal Palace also appeared. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. He knew that the person who appeared was the great guardian of Immortal Palace. His strength was extremely terrifying. However, he didn't expect Xing Tian, elderly, and the others to have such abilities and methods to allow invincible kings to descend. If the invincible kings of Immortal Palace could descend, then what about the other sacred grounds? Lin Xian looked into the distance again. Sure enough, his guess was right. After the great guardian of Immortal Palace arrived, the Yi family, Gu family, Dao Yi sacred ground, Wavering Light sacred ground, and other sacred grounds all shone brightly. Strange runes flashed in the sky one after another. Then a majestic aura emerged and tore through the void. That aura belonged to invincible kings. Clearly, invincible kings had arrived. There were more than a dozen invincible kings. At this moment, when they appeared in the sky together, it was really enough to make the heaven and earth collapse. Luckily, the invincible kings of the various sacred grounds unleashed their light to protect the crowd below. That was why those people weren't affected. Before, you dared to take action against my Immortal Palace's master? As soon as the great guardian appeared, he did not immediately look at the saint's corpse. Instead, he stared at the invincible king from the Chasing Corpse sect. A sharp glint appeared in his eyes. Obviously, he wanted to stand up for Lin Xian. It was because Lin Xian was his Immortal Palace's palace master. No matter when, he would always represent their Immortal Palace. However, someone actually wanted to kill Lin Xian? If a saint or saintess of the younger generation were to attack Lin Xian, the great guardian would definitely not care. That was because he knew that Lin Xian had to go through these battles. However, an invincible king who stood at the peak of the continent actually attacked a young junior. This was something he could not tolerate. Sure enough, as soon as these words were spoken, Lin Xian revealed a cold smile. The people of Immortal Palace also became excited. They knew that the great guardian had come to avenge them. After the great guardian of Immortal Palace, the invincible king of the Yi family also shouted coldly. Endless golden light erupted from his body, sweeping through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. A terrifying golden saint aura suddenly erupted. The invincible king of the Gu family, the Jade Pool, and the Dao One sacred ground, powerful figures like divine arrows, pierced through the void and stared at the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect. The martial artists of the Chasing Corpse sect felt their scalps go numb, and their faces turn green. They did not expect that these sacred grounds could summon invincible kings, and more than 10 of them appeared at once. Previously they were proud, thinking that only their Chasing Corpse sect could summon invincible kings. This way they could capture all the peerless geniuses in one fell swoop. They could severely injure the great sage. Moreover, they could push all the blame onto the saint's corpse. They could say that it was the saint's corpse that killed them. This way they could do it without anyone noticing. However, they did not expect that before the invincible kings on their side made a move, the invincible kings of the sacred grounds had already arrived. Moreover, everyone was pointing their spears at them. They felt as if they were facing a great enemy, and their hearts were cold, and their faces were filled with despair. Because they only had one invincible king. No matter how strong he was, how could he defeat more than 10 of them? If more than 10 invincible kings attacked together, their Chasing Corpse sect would definitely not survive. The great guardian of Immortal Palace took the lead. He held a red spear in his hand and stabbed out. Lightning filled the sky, and endless divine lightning pierced through the void, attacking the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect. The invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect roared, waving his black demonic blade to resist. However, at this time the Yi family, Gu family, Blade Intense Sacred Ground, and the invincible kings of the heavens all attacked. More than 10 invincible kings attacked together, blasting the void. No matter how powerful the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect was, he could not do it. Therefore, in just an instant, the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect vomited blood and was sent flying. The invincible king-level zombie in front of him was torn apart, unable to resist at all. Damn it, just you wait. The invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect roared. He waved his hand and led all the people of the Chasing Corpse sect to escape into the distance. You still want to escape? Stay here. The great guardian snorted coldly and stabbed out with his spear. Buzz. In the sky, a red spear descended from the sky like a divine red, directly piercing through the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect. Buff. Blood sprayed out, dyeing the void red. Boom. Boom. The invincible king of the Yi family waved his fist, and golden light shone in the sky, making everyone unable to open their eyes. The lower half of the invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect instantly shattered, turning into a bloody mist. Otherwise, black holes would have appeared around him, and a terrifying chaotic aura and world-destroying light would have appeared. In short, this invincible king of the Chasing Corpse sect was severely injured, and only his head was left. He was also on the verge of death. It was covered with cracks and would shatter at any time. The martial artists of the Chasing Corpse sect below him were even more miserable. A large number of martial artists turned into a bloody mist, and less than 1% of them were still alive. With a roar, the shattered head of the invincible king escaped into the void with the remaining martial artists of the Chasing Corpse sect. An invincible king was seriously injured and fled just like that. Moreover, he was almost killed. Chapter 2587. Too strong. These invincible kings were simply too strong. Every strike made them shudder with fear. They all carried boundless power. Lin Xian also clenched his fists, and his eyes erupted with a fiery light. Invincible king, he must become an invincible king. Only then could he stand at the peak of the continent. In the sky, more than a dozen invincible kings retracted their gazes from the distance and looked down again. When they saw the corpse of the saint with his eyes open, they all frowned. Shock, extreme shock. Even though these people were invincible kings and were powerful, they still felt a sense of fear from the bottom of their hearts when facing a saint. It couldn't be helped. Saints had a natural suppression on kings like them. Even if they became invincible kings, they were still kings, not saints. If they didn't surpass kings and enter the saint realm, they would never be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with saints. But now it was different. The reason for that was because that sage was not alive. Instead, he was a corpse. Although his eyes were open and he was breathing, he was still much weaker than a real living saint. The Yuhua immortal robe was indeed real. The eyes of the invincible kings of the Yi family were like two suns, blooming with light. The great guardian of the immortal palace had a solemn expression. The other's eyes also flickered, not daring to be careless. Blood. At this moment, a low and hoarse voice sounded. Hearing this voice, everyone's souls trembled. In the sky, more than a dozen invincible kings' pupils constricted. They stared down. That voice was actually from the saint's corpse. Damn it, did this saint's corpse really come back to life? Lin Xian and the others were even more shocked. They retreated again. That was because the scene before them was simply too bizarre. It was beyond their understanding. Let's do it. The great guardian took a deep breath. Okay. The Yi family, the Gu family, and the other invincible kings all nodded. In the next moment they quickly attacked. A long spear pierced through the void and a golden fist was like a sun. Terrifying spatial cracks spread. At this moment, more than a dozen invincible kings didn't hold back at all. Boom. In the energy storm that filled the sky, wisps of saint power directly broke through heaven and earth, shattering all the energy. More than a dozen invincible kings were forced back. What? He was actually so powerful. Lin Xian, Leaf Dao Denier, and the others were shocked. It was only a sliver of sage might, but it was enough to cut through the attacks of the invincible kings. A saint is too scary, isn't it? Beside him, Xing Tian, Elder Li, and the others wore solemn expressions. It couldn't be helped. Saints had transcended the heavens and earth. They were extremely terrifying, far surpassing our imaginations. This was just a wisp of sage's aura. If it was a living sage, the Tao pattern law would be earth-shattering. It was estimated that the dozen or so invincible kings in the sky would not even be able to withstand a single blow. What? The Tao pattern laws were actually so powerful? Hearing this, Lin Xian and the others sucked in a breath of cold air, their faces full of shock. In the sky, more than a dozen invincible kings snorted coldly. A dead saint was not invincible. They also quickly used their trump cards. Some people even took out broken sage magic treasures. Lin Xian knew how terrifying the power of a saint's fragment was. Furthermore, he did not dare to completely tear open the seal. However, these invincible kings were extremely powerful. They could tear open the seal far more than Lin Xian could. Therefore, in a flash they attacked again. The sage's corpse was still sitting there, unable to move. He couldn't move and only his eyes could still move. However, this was already terrifying. Just his gaze alone was enough to block the attacks of more than a dozen invincible kings. For a moment, both sides were fighting to the death. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, strange runes appeared in the sky one after another. They were extremely terrifying, enveloping Leaf Daodenier, the Grand Xia Prince and the others. Not good. Seeing this, the elders of the Grand Xia dynasty and the Gu clan screamed. Leaf Daodenier and the others were even more shocked. In an instant they felt as if their blood was being sucked dry. Damn it, these runes were sucking their blood. What was going on? A sage. A sage was attacking. An elder screamed. He had long since realized that something was wrong. These runes were absorbing the bloodline power of the peak. Don't let him succeed. Otherwise it was very likely that he would really come back to life. When these words were said, everyone's expression changed. In fact, it was normal. From the very beginning they had seen all kinds of strange things. Later on, the Bloodwing Bat King attacked the geniuses with the peak bloodlines. All of this indicated that the entire ancient tomb seemed to be searching for the most powerful bloodlines. As for what it was for, they didn't know at the time. Now it seemed that it was for the revival of the sage. At this thought their scalps went numb. Those with peak bloodlines turned pale. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have entered even if they were beaten to death. But now it was too late. In the face of the mysterious runes they couldn't resist at all. Lin Xian was still fine. He didn't have the power of a bloodline. He only had the dragon sword soul, so for a while he wasn't enveloped by the runes. However, he didn't dare to be careless. Because Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu were still enveloped. He had to think of a way to save them. He wanted to use the Black Earth. During this period of time, he had obtained a large number of natural treasures in the tomb. He could already use the Black Earth again. He wanted to use the Black Earth to attack and save Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu, then leave this place. Who cared about the sage's corpse? Everything had nothing to do with him. However, before Lin Xian could make a move, a roar suddenly came from the distance. The sound was very faint at first. It was obvious that the place where it came from was very far away. However, in the blink of an eye, it turned into boundless thunder and surged forth. Suddenly, the space where Lin Xian and the others were in collapsed. Damn it, what happened? Lin Xian, Yi Wudao and the others were shocked. In the sky, the dozen or so invincible kings retreated. Their faces were solemn. Crack. The void cracked and a blue light appeared, turning into a huge coffin floating in the sky. Seeing this coffin, all the elders' scalps went numb. Damn it, it's the Big Dipper coffin. Isn't this the first coffin? Why is it here? The elders were really crazy. When the Big Dipper coffin appeared, they told the younger generation to quickly retreat. As for the elders, they were working together to kill him. In the end, they suppressed a few. Among them, the first coffin was the most mysterious and terrifying. However, nothing strange happened. When they completely left, the first coffin didn't open, which made the elders sigh in relief. But they didn't expect that the first coffin would come here. Moreover, it emitted such terrifying sound waves. Chapter 2588. Could it be that the corpse of the sage had summoned it? Everyone's expression turned ugly. The corpse of a sage was already so terrifying. If he were to summon another powerful guardian, those invincible kings would probably be defeated. However, to everyone's surprise, the first coffin of the Big Dipper didn't attack the invincible kings or Lin Xian and the others. It was the corpse of the sage. A blue lightning bolt shot out from the coffin and struck down. Its target was the corpse of the sage. Everyone was taken aback by this scene. What was going on? Shouldn't the first coffin of the Big Dipper be the guardian of the tomb? Why would it attack the corpse of the sage? This made them all confused. Lin Xian and the others were also very surprised. The corpse of the sage raised its head, and two divine lights shot out from its eyes, shattering the lightning bolt. Clang. Otherwise, the two gazes still landed on the blue light screen, which immediately caused a monstrous tremor. The coffin trembled from the impact and shattered into pieces in an instant. The surrounding void also collapsed in an instant. A blood-red figure rushed out from the blue light curtain. Everyone's scalp went numb when they saw that. The blood-red figure was a corpse. However, the skin on it was gone and only flesh and blood were exposed. It was a blur. The blood dripped down and directly pierced through the void. One could imagine that this person must have been a very terrifying existence when he was alive. However, everyone still underestimated the blood-red corpse. That was because the expressions of the dozen or so invincible kings in the sky instantly changed. Damn it, it's the blood of a sage. A drop of blood pressed down on the surroundings, making them tremble. Only the blood of a sage could cause such a terrifying scene. They didn't expect that the corpse in the coffin was also the corpse of a sage. Damn it, there were 2 sages in this ancient tomb? To be honest, they were all stunned. Because they never thought that this would be the result. If they used all their trump cards, they might be able to fight against the corpse of a sage. But now they couldn't fight against the corpses of 2 sages. Although these sages were all dead, they couldn't resist the might and blood of the sages. For a moment, the invincible king's expressions became extremely ugly. The eyelids of Lin Xian and the others were also twitching. They didn't understand what was going on. The experts from the Demon Imperial Palace screamed. This was demonic blood. The saint's blood contained a strong demonic aura. This was a demon saint. That's right, it was indeed a demon saint. Yan Ruyu and Hua Tiandu also had ice-cold expressions. They also felt the aura of the demon clan. The others' expressions changed. What was going on? How could it be a saint of the demon clan? Could it be that one of them was a human ancient sage and the other was a demon ancient sage? Why are these 2 saints together? Roar. Just as everyone was puzzled, the blood-colored sage above launched another attack. He charged towards the saint's corpse below. A huge blood-red hand covered the sky and covered the entire sky. Could it be that his target was also the Yuhua immortal robe? Everyone was shocked. This must be the case. This demon saint also wanted to snatch the Yuhua immortal robe? Ka. Below, the saints of the human race dealt with it calmly. The armor on his face made cracking sounds and retreated to both sides, revealing a face. When they saw that face, everyone exclaimed and Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Because this face was very familiar to him. It was a woman's face, as pale as a sheet of paper and very beautiful. However, everyone realized that they seemed to have seen this face before. Damn it, it was that woman in white. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. He had taken the bronze key from the mouth of the woman in white before, so how could he forget this face? But why did the saint's corpse look exactly the same as that woman in white? Could it be that the 2 of them were originally the same person? At the side, the dark red divine dragon also said. Thinking about it, that woman in white should be a clone of this person's corpse. Sending his doppelganger to guard his tomb should be the safest way. That could only be the reason. Everyone nodded, but they still couldn't understand why there were 2 saints. However, this was no longer important. Because the 2 of them had already started fighting. Although both of them were corpses, they directly tore the entire sky apart as soon as they fought. Large cracks also appeared on the surrounding ancient tomb. It couldn't be helped. Just because the invincible kings couldn't break the ancient tomb didn't mean that the saints couldn't. Sure enough, the 2 of them had only exchanged 10 moves when the sky shattered, and the light from outside shone in. Run. Seeing this scene, the invincible kings roared angrily. They also activated the saint artifact fragments in their hands and joined the battle. For a moment, the battle became even more intense. The ancient tomb of the saints was also more and more damaged. Countless cracks spread in all directions, directly tearing the ancient tomb into pieces. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian and the others didn't dare to delay. They turned into a long rainbow and flew out. It was too dangerous inside, so they had to leave. When the saints fought, it was estimated that millions of miles would sink directly or even millions of miles. They had to retreat quickly. Bus. At this moment, the powerhouses of the great sage used their trump cards and quickly left. Boom. Boom. After they left, the saints of the human race rode the purple coffin and soared into the sky. The blood-colored demon overlord chased after them. More than a dozen invincible kings also followed with treasures in their hands. They also left the ancient tomb. After leaving the ancient tomb, without the suppression of the ancient tomb's laws, this energy instantly attacked the area within a radius of 5 million miles. Immediately, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The surrounding creatures were in a terrible situation. Screams sounded one after another. Lin Xian and the others even activated the Black Demon ship and quickly retreated with all the Immortal Palace's martial artists. The Yi family, the Gu family, and all the great sects of the Holy Land did the same. They retreated 5 million miles away and didn't stop. They didn't stop until they were 10 million miles away. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They wondered how the battle was going. Someone said with a fearful expression, It would definitely be very intense, but they didn't know who would win in the end. Let's wait and see. These people already felt safe after retreating to this point. Therefore, they wanted to wait and see how the battle was going. However, not long after, a roar sounded in the distance. Then a ray of light pierced through heaven and earth. Even though they were 10 million miles away, everyone could still see it. Another invincible king had made his move. Moreover, it was an extremely powerful invincible king. Xing Tian, elderly, and the others exclaimed. The people of the Yi family were also shocked. This should be someone from the Great Xia dynasty, right? After all, this territory was within the Great Xia dynasty. Sure enough, after this ray of light, a few more terrifying rays of light pierced through heaven and earth. Chapter 2589. This news was spread not only by the Great Xia dynasty, but also by the various great sage lands. In an instant, the experts of the surrounding dynasties all rushed over. Even the experts of the eastern wilderness, western desert, northern plains, and southern border opened their gates and directly descended. This time, not only did they come alone, but they also brought shocking treasures and terrifying trump cards. Because this was related to the Yuhua immortal robe, they had to be serious. In fact, many supreme elders and living fossil elders had also come. Some sect masters even came in person. This was a huge shock that spread throughout the 5 continents of the true spirit world. The imagination was something that Lin Xian had never imagined before. He didn't expect that the ancient tomb of a saint would have such a huge impact. On the immortal palace's side, Elder Li and the others also informed the other guardians. Xing Tian even took out a secret scroll to inform Xia Jiuyo. With such a big thing happening, they had to inform Xia Jiuyo. Only with the old palace master personally taking action would there be a guarantee. In the sky, jade gates opened one after another, and powerful figures descended, chasing after the corpse of the human race's saint. Their goal was the Yuhua immortal robe. Of course, there were also people who were very interested in the 2 saint corpses. After all, saints were full of secrets. If they could obtain it and study it, it would be of great help to their strength. These people had already reached the peak of the king realm, and they were just 1 step away from the saint realm. However, this step had trapped them for thousands of years. Now that there was such an opportunity, how could they let it go? In an instant, a great battle broke out. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Everything within tens of millions of miles was affected. Wherever it passed, not a single blade of grass was left. It was too terrifying. Lin Xian and the others were shocked when they saw this scene. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Lin Xian's side wasn't peaceful either. Powerful figures descended one after another, and terrifying killing intent spread in all directions. Among them, there were people from the 5 Elements Palace, the 9 Firmaments Sacred Emperor, the Myriad Thunder Sacred Land, and the Tai Dynasty. There were also people from the Yin-Yang sect. As soon as they appeared, they surrounded Lin Xian, and terrifying killing intent spread in all directions. Elder. Great Elder, hurry up and kill him. He killed our holy son. The people of 5 Elements Palace, Myriad Lightning Sacred Ground, and 9 Heavens Sacred Ground roared madly. Previously, when they sent a message to the invincible kings, they also sent a message to their holy land. Therefore, the Holy Land had sent many experts to kill Lin Xian. How dare you kill the 5 Elements Saint? Kneel down and accept your death. No one in this world can save you. The expert from the 10,000 Thunder Holy Land said coldly. I won't kill you so easily. I'll torture you for 7,790 years and let you know the feeling of living a life worse than death. The experts of the 9 Firmaments Holy Emperor were like death gods. It was the same for the Yin-Yang sect and the Tai Dynasty. An old man from the Yin-Yang sect made the first move. He looked down at Lin Xian from above, wanting to kill him with a palm strike. Fellow Taoist Yin-Yang, you're not being kind. You should have left this brat to us. The people from the 5 Elements Palace sneered. The people of the Tai Dynasty also said, don't kill him. Capture him first and we'll torture him. Lin Xian waved his hand and the Blood-Winged Bat King appeared in front of him, shattering the huge palm. What was that thing? How could it be so powerful? Seeing the new blood-red monster, the experts who had just arrived were shocked. It was a puppet, the guardian of the saint's ancient tomb. It was controlled by the brat. At the back, the disciples of the 5 Elements Palace and the Tai Dynasty quickly explained. The guardian of the ancient tomb was so powerful? Many powerful elders' eyes lit up. It was really a treasure. How could such a treasure be in the hands of a piece of trash? Hand it over obediently. These people were very greedy. They stared at the Blood-Winged Bat King. They knew that the things in the tomb, even if it was a pile of dirt, had endless magical uses. They regretted not entering the ancient tomb before. But now, the brat had brought out such a powerful guardian. How could they not be tempted? Elder, this brat not only has a guardian, but also the Dark Knight Immortal Gold and the Flower Protector. And all kinds of natural treasures. At the back, those disciples roared crazily. Hearing these treasures, the eyes of the surrounding elders turned red. They looked at Lin Xian. Brat, what do you have to be able to get so many treasures? That's right, hand it over obediently, or I'll make you wish you were dead. You want to take my treasure? Do you have the life to take it? Lin Xian looked around and said coldly. These bastards really deserve to die. They actually secretly called so many experts to surround and kill him? He remembered these holy lands. In the future he would never let these people go. Xing Tian, elderly, and the others on the side also stood out. You want to attack our palace master? You have to ask if we agree first. Your immortal palace is powerful, but can you resist the joint attack of so many of us? An expert from the Thousand Thunder Holy Land also stood out. Lightning surrounded his body like a thunder god, looking down on the people of Immortal Palace. I killed the Saint Child. What? You want revenge? Then make your move. Lin Xian sneered. Damn it, too hateful. Kill him. You must kill him. The cultivators of the Thousand Thunder Holy Land were mad with anger. Now that so many of them had surrounded him, he still dared to be arrogant in front of them? They couldn't bear it anymore. Sure enough, the Thousand Thunder Holy Land experts' face sank. No one dares to attack our Thousand Thunder Holy Land, and it's even more impossible for someone to kill our Saint Child and live. Therefore you should obediently kneel down and accept your death. The Thousand Thunder Holy Land expert said coldly. You alone? You don't have the qualifications. Let your palace master come. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Reckless brat. In the sky the expert shouted coldly. In an instant more than a dozen giant hands reached out and pressed Lin Xian below. Courting death, do you think we don't exist? Xing Tian, elderly, and the others were enraged. They also launched a counterattack. At the same time, elderly summoned the top puppets, the decree above his head, and the terrifying pagoda floating up and down. These people also activated their powerful trump cards to resist. Lin Xian, Peacock, Huidao, and the others also launched a counterattack. The dark red divine dragon roared, and the dragon's cry shook the 9 heavens. In the fierce confrontation, more than a dozen giant hands were blocked. One had to admit that Xing Tian, elderly, and the others were too strong. Moreover, they had the top puppets and decrees. Therefore, although they were fewer in number, they resisted. This scene shocked everyone. No way, this immortal palace is so powerful? The people from the other holy lands exclaimed. No Flower, Yi Wudao, and the others also had a serious expression. Kid, do you think these people can defeat you? Chapter 2590. These people looked young, but they were estimated to be 800 or 900 years old. They were very powerful, and some of them were saints and saintesses of the previous generation. Reckless kid, you killed our saint and you want to get away unscathed? What a joke. His voice was like thunder, throbbing and shaking everyone's ears. Was he also an elite from the Thousand Thunder Sacred Ground? Today will be the day of your death. An elite from the 5 Elements Palace, surrounded by the power of the 5 elements, was so powerful that it made people tremble. You want to kill me with just you? You are too weak. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a terrifying sword chi surged from his body. Kid, you are courting death. The elites from the 9 heavens sacred ground also rushed forward. Their saint had been killed and they could not accept it. Only by killing the kid in front of them could they vent the hatred in their hearts. Although they were not elders, they were still powerful kings. Killing the kid in front of them would be a piece of cake. They attacked wildly, but the result was beyond their expectations. Soon, someone screamed as his body was cut in half by the sword. Damn it, how could he be so powerful? These people roared crazily because they realized that the opponent's strength had surpassed the average saint. Why are you surprised? What will surprise you is yet to come. Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his hand, he took out the flower protector and tore open a corner of the seal. Then a terrifying demonic sound whistled out. Clang, clang, boom, boom. 2 of the elite's bodies exploded, turning into a bloody mist. One of them was blasted to the point where only his head was left, and he fled into the distance. Boom. Before he could run far, he was smashed by the dark red dragon's claw. Want to kill us? Let's see if you have the right. Seeing this scene, everyone gasped in shock. The people from the Five Elements Palace and Tai Dynasty gritted their teeth. They did not expect the other party to be able to resist. As for the newcomers, their faces were full of shock. The other party was simply too powerful, exceeding their expectations. You have gone too far. Do you really think that the Five Elements Palace does not have any elites? At this moment, a cold voice was heard. Then, the terrifying power of the fifth form turned into a ray of light and slashed towards Lin Xian. Sensing this change, Lin Xian's expression instantly changed. His pupils shrank. Lin Xian didn't dare delay and instantly entered the black earth. With a loud clang, the pentagram blade collided with the black earth, producing an earth-shattering sound. Soon after, the black earth was sent flying, smashing through the void and only stopping after a long distance. Palace Master. Young Master. In the distance, Xing Tian, elderly, and the others exclaimed in shock. The Crimson Divine Dragon also screamed, "Brat, are you all right?" The others were all alarmed. An unmatched king-level expert, another unmatched king-level expert was taking action. They're going crazy. Who would have thought that an invincible king would descend and attack Lin Xian directly? This brat was dead meat. That's right, no matter how powerful he was, he couldn't block the attack of an invincible king tier. One after another, discussions sounded. In the distance, Yi Wudao, Murong Qingqing, Shen Jingqiu, and the others were extremely nervous. The elders would save him. Save big brother Lin Xian. Murong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu urged the peerless experts on their side. In the sky, the terrifying light of the five elements disappeared, and the cracks in the sky gradually healed. Everyone looked into the distance. That brat is gone, right? He must have been beaten into a bloody mist. Many people were discussing. Those from the Five Elements Palace sneered. Great, their invincible king had finally made his move. Let's see how that brat dies. However, the invincible king of the Five Elements Palace didn't relax. He even frowned. Because he noticed that there was an additional black spirit ship in front of him. The light just now had blasted onto the spirit ship. It's actually fine? The invincible king frowned. The others also noticed this scene. Heavens, what is this spirit ship? How can it withstand the attack of an invincible king? Did that brat get in? He's really lucky. They didn't expect him to have such a trump card. Everyone discussed animatedly. Murong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu also heaved a sigh of relief. It's just a spirit ship. Do you really think I can't break it? The elder of the Five Elements Palace sneered and slapped out with his Five Elements palm. This time he didn't hold back. The power of an invincible king instantly surged out. Clang. Boom. Boom. Terrifying energy blasted in all directions, and the black earth was annihilated once again. This time that brat should be dead, right? That's for sure. Don't doubt the power of an invincible king. That's right, an invincible king wouldn't fail twice. The surrounding people were discussing animatedly. However, when the light disappeared, they were dumbfounded, and their eyes almost popped out. Even the invincible king of the Five Elements Palace frowned. Nothing happened? The black spirit boat continued to float in the sky, and there wasn't even a single crack on it. Heavens, what exactly is that thing? Why is it so terrifying? Could it be that it belongs to a saint? No way, how could that brat have such a powerful treasure in his hands? That's impossible. Even if it doesn't belong to a saint, it's still an extremely terrifying treasure. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to withstand such a terrifying attack from an invincible king. Everyone was too shocked. They didn't expect that the other party would have such a treasure in his hands. Inside the black earth, Lin Xian was also gnashing his teeth in anger. Shameless, truly too shameless. An invincible king, an elder who had lived for thousands of years, actually attacked him. Did he have any shame? Damn old bastard, one day I will make you pay the price. Lin Xian gnashed his teeth. The dark red dragon outside stomped its feet and cursed loudly. Fuck. How shameless. Have you been living like a dog for the past thousands of years? How dare you attack a junior? Where's the face of the Five Elements Palace? That's right. Shameless Five Elements Palace. Shameless invincible king. The warriors of the Immortal Palace also roared angrily. They were too angry. The dark red dragon sneered again. It doesn't matter if you're shameless, but don't be slapped in the face. A dignified invincible king couldn't even break a spirit boat. What a joke. Noisy, where did this snake come from? Go to hell. The invincible king was furious. He slapped out again and teleported. Whoosh. The dark red dragon instantly disappeared. He directly opened the black jade platform and teleported out. When he reappeared, he had already returned to the black earth. Damn it, you want to kill me? Can you kill me? He had long established a formation on his body and the black earth. With a thought, he would immediately teleport over. That was why he was not afraid of the invincible king. Damn it, kid, kill him. Hurry up and kill him. I can't hold it in anymore. Use heavenly materials and earthly treasures to kill him. The dark red dragon gritted its teeth. Lin Xian's face was also cold, but soon he raised a cold smile. Kill him? No, there was no need. Sometimes living was worse than death. Kid, what do you mean? The dark red dragon was stunned, but when he saw Lin Xian's eyes, he breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 2591. That's for sure. Just wait and see. Lin Xian sneered. The next moment his cold voice sounded. Does it feel good to bully the young? Kid, you can't blame me for this. Blame yourself for being too weak. How dare you provoke my 5 elements palace? That's the biggest mistake you've ever made. I'm weak? I'm an ant? If I'm an ant, then what is your 5 elements saint after I killed him? Trash among the ants? It turns out that the saint of your palace is such a trash. As soon as he said that, the martial artists of Immortal Palace all laughed. Even Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu in the distance couldn't help but laugh until they bent over. This kid is too good at talking. The surrounding people were shocked and some gritted their teeth. What's so great about that? No matter what he said, he was no match for an invincible king. It would be easy for an invincible king to kill him. If a saint didn't appear, an invincible king would be a peak existence. Even the current saints and saintesses couldn't defeat them. It couldn't be helped because they were too young. One had to know that these invincible kings were all saints and saintesses thousands of years ago. However, they had grown up for 1 or 2,000 years and finally became invincible kings. Bang! The invincible king of 5 elements palace attacked again. It was another terrifying fist. It blasted towards the black earth and sent it flying again. Inside the black earth, Lin Xian and the dark red dragon's blood were also boiling. The two of them almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What the fuck, this guy is really too much of a bully. The dark red dragon was so angry that it stomped its feet. Lin Xian's expression was also cold. Kid, aren't you very capable? Why are you hiding in the spirit ship? Come out, I can slap you to death with one palm. Outside, the invincible king's voice was cold. The disciples of 5 Elements Palace also sneered. Damn kid, come out. That's right, aren't you very arrogant? Where's the momentum you had when you killed our saint? Trash, you're dead. Clamoring voices could be heard. Lin Xian sneered. Is that so? You're looking forward to me making a move, aren't you? Then as you wish. Having said that, Lin Xian didn't hesitate at all. He took out the treasures he obtained from the tomb and gave them to Hey Tuesday. Black Earth poured them into the formation. The formation operated and converted these natural treasures into energy for the Black Earth battleship. Hey Tu, don't attack that invincible king. Target the ordinary disciples of the 5 Elements Palace and attack them fiercely. Didn't he like to look down on others and bully the weak? Didn't he like to flaunt his seniority? I'll let him have a taste of what it means to fight the weak with the strong. Lin Xian gritted his teeth. The dark red divine dragon's eyes lit up as it listened. Brat, this plan of yours is pretty good. Indeed, using the Black Earth to bombard an invincible king might not be able to deal much damage to the invincible king. However, if he were to attack those ordinary disciples, it would be a different story. Boom. The Black Earth launched an attack. A black beam of light flew out like a black demonic spear and pierced through the void. The light was fast and sudden. It instantly hit the disciples of the 5 Elements Palace. The intense light exploded. A black sphere swept in all directions and enveloped the disciples of the 5 Elements Palace. Boom, boom, boom. Miserable screams rang out. Bones and blood splattered everywhere. The martial artists of the 5 Elements Palace couldn't resist at all. They exploded into a bloody mist. Damn it. Run quickly. The surrounding martial artists also screamed crazily. They fled in all directions. However, they couldn't escape at all. This attack was simply too terrifying. Therefore, in addition to the 5 Elements Palace, the myriad Thunder Sacred Ground and the 9 Heavens Sacred Ground were also affected. Quite a number of people were killed by the energy waves. Damn brat, I'm going to kill you. In the sky, the invincible king of the 5 Elements Palace was completely enraged. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his body emitted a terrifying aura. At the same time, he formed a light shadow and enveloped the remaining people of the 5 Elements Palace. His lungs were about to explode from anger. Lin Xian sneered. What? Don't you like the feeling of beating the weak? Now this feeling is being used on you. Does it feel good? Ew, ew, die. The invincible king's expression was distorted. The people around him felt their scalps go numb as they retreated. Inside the black earth, Lin Xian and the dark red dragon smiled when they saw this scene. Haha, the other party was finally angry. Great, he wanted to make the other party angry. So what? Even if the other party was an invincible king, they weren't afraid. With the black earth, the other party couldn't break in. What they wanted was the other party to go crazy and worry about not being able to kill them. In the sky, the invincible king of the five elements palace roared and attacked crazily. The energy wave completely annihilated the black earth. However, the final result left him dumbfounded. Because the black earth wasn't damaged at all. There wasn't even a crack. This scene caused everyone to be extremely shocked. Fellow Taoist, let me help you. This should be a very special ancient treasure. It's a waste in this kid's hands. Take it and make it my spirit ship. In the sky, a few more powerful figures descended. Bus. After the invincible king of the five elements palace appeared, the invincible king of the thousand lightning sage also appeared. The nine firmament divine emperor also came. The yin-yang sect also sent one. The four invincible kings stood in the sky, completely freezing the space around Lin Xian. The entire sky was completely shattered. If Lin Xian wasn't in the black earth, his body would have been torn apart by now. Even in the black earth, it was still fiercely attacked and kept rolling in the sky. However, the black earth was left behind by the successor of the great dragon sword after all. It could definitely withstand the attacks of the invincible kings. However, Lin Xian's current situation was really bad. Being targeted by so many invincible kings, if the black earth ran out of energy, it would be troublesome. The others naturally saw this scene. Immortal Palace, Elder Li Xingtian, and the others gritted their teeth in anger. Peng peng peng. Lin Xian threw in a large number of divine crystals, and the black earth blasted out a few more black rays of light. Immediately, the ordinary disciples of the thousand lightning sage land yin-yang sect, and nine firmament divine emperors screamed. A large number of martial artists were directly killed. Seeing this scene, the faces of the four invincible kings in the sky turned green. They had displayed such powerful strength, but the other party was still able to fight back? He could even kill their disciples? This was unbearable. Everyone, don't waste any more time. Let's work together. We must take down this kid. The aura of the four of them continued to rise. They even took out their weapons. The space within a radius of millions of miles froze. No one dared to stay here. Kid, go to hell. Chapter 2592. Boom. A world-shaking explosion of energy. Terrifying palms covered the sky and covered the sun. They pressed down, wanting to destroy everything. However, an even more terrifying power came from the void, directly shattering the four invincible palms. At the same time, an ice-cold voice sounded. Who dares to attack my immortal palace's master? Kill without mercy. The ice-cold voice carried terrifying killing intent, engulfing the nine heavens. The air within millions of li shattered once again. What? Did reinforcements arrive again? Unparalleled experts had arrived. When the warriors in the distance saw this scene, they were extremely shocked. In the sky, the four invincible kings also frowned. They looked at the black vortex in front of them. Who was it? Get out here. The black vortex slowly disappeared, and an old man appeared in the void. He had white hair and a ruddy complexion. He wore a blue Taoist robe that had been washed until it was white. However, no one dared to look down on him. Although the Taoist robe didn't release light, it emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Extremely mysterious runes flowed on it. This was a treasure. It's me. An ice-cold voice sounded from the old man's mouth. I am Immortal Palace's second protector. What? Second protector? Immortal Palace's protector came again? In the distance, those people sucked in a breath of cold air. The four invincible kings in the sky also frowned. However, soon he revealed a trace of a sneer. A mere invincible king wants to contend against the four of us? Aren't you a bit too confident? Then what if I'm included? Another ice-cold voice sounded. Immediately after, behind the second protector, a figure stood out. Another invincible king. Everyone cried out in shock, but this wasn't the end. After the second one, a third one, and a fourth one also quickly appeared. The second protector's lips curled into a sneer. Did I say that I came alone? In the end, the five protectors all descended, crushing a region of the sky. Five Elements Palace and the other four invincible kings' expressions became incomparably ugly. 5 invincible kings, one more than their side. How were they supposed to fight? You like to bully with numbers. Now I'll let you have a taste of what it means to bully with numbers. The second protector roared angrily. Then the 5 invincible kings charged over. A great collision occurred between heaven and earth. 9 invincible kings were fighting in the air. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian instantly controlled the black earth to fly backwards. The others retreated as well. Right now, there was no place for anyone to stay within a radius of 20 million li. Therefore, the invincible kings quickly sent messages to their saints and saintesses to bring their disciples back. Because it was too dangerous now. After the incident with Lin Xian, they were extremely careful. If an enemy's sacred ground sent invincible kings to kill their saints and saintesses, they probably wouldn't be able to escape. After receiving the news, the Chosens hurriedly opened the teleportation gate. Now that things had developed to this point, it had already exceeded their imagination. Now even the weakest ones were invincible kings taking action. There were even saint corpses fighting. Terrifying energy erupted between heaven and earth. Most of it was the power of saint fragments. Although the holy sons and holy daughters were also young geniuses, they could not interfere at all. Not to mention them, even those elders were unable to interfere. It was very dangerous for them to stay here. They might as well leave as soon as possible. One figure after another quickly retreated. Brother Lin, we're leaving. We'll meet again if fate wills it. No Flower, Yi Wudao and the others bid farewell. Lin Xian also waved at them. Lin Xian, Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu were also reluctant to part. Lin Xian said telepathically, "Don't worry, I'll look for you after this incident passes." When the two of them heard this, they smiled. They followed their respective elders and quickly left. Lin Xian also gathered Xing Tian, elderly Peacock and the others. They opened the teleportation gate and returned to Starry Hall. Damn it. When the people of 5 Elements Palace, Thousand Thunder Sacred Ground and Tai Dynasty saw Lin Xian retreat, they all roared like crazy. This was the best opportunity to kill the other party, but they did not expect him to escape. Moreover, what made them even angrier was that they were now at a disadvantage. Immortal Palace had sent out 6 invincible kings. It could be said that they were suppressing one side. Moreover, the other party's foundation was very strong, and they had endless trump cards in their hands. In an instant, 5 Elements Palace and Tai Dynasty were forced to retreat. Whoosh! They were finally back. The world spun, and after endless darkness, Lin Xian and the others returned to the Starry Hall. It was still very quiet and peaceful here. It had nothing to do with the battle outside. "Palace Master, you're back." When the martial artists saw Lin Xian and the others return, they quickly went up. "From now on, collect information from outside at all times, especially information about this battle. Also, report to me every day about the whereabouts of the Yuhua Immortal Robe." Lin Xian instructed. The martial artists under him quickly responded. Lin Xian turned to look at Peacock and the others again. "You've worked hard, go back and rest. When you're well rested, go and receive your corresponding rewards." "Yes, thank you, Palace Master." Peacock and the others were delighted. The martial artists of Immortal Palace were even more curious. Later, he waved his hand and asked them to leave. He said to Xing Tian, elderly, and the others again. The elders should also go and rest. Next, Lin Xian returned to Starry Hall. After returning, the dark red divine dragon also walked out of the black earth. Its body swayed as it ate. Damn, those invincible kings were too despicable. Although it was separated by the black earth, it was still very painful. Lin Xian directly threw a storage room to the dark red divine dragon. "From now on, I'm going to go into seclusion. You better go into seclusion to break through." Lin Xian's eyes showed a hint of seriousness. Although he was now a mid-7 star, it was not enough to face powerless kings. He had to quickly break through and be able to compete with invincible kings as soon as possible, because he felt that it was getting more and more dangerous. Next, Lin Xian began to go into seclusion. This time, after experiencing so many battles, he had countless insights in his heart. Moreover, the harvest this time was too bountiful. There were so many natural treasures, enough for him to absorb continuously. This time, Lin Xian went into seclusion for a year. During this year, Lin Xian had been absorbing the energy of those natural treasures and did not come out at all. The dark red divine dragon came out once in the middle, but then it also went into seclusion. Peacock, Hu Yidao, Ghostly, and the others, after recuperating, went to the treasury to receive their respective rewards. This time their rewards were very generous, several times more than before. This made them very happy. Then these people also went into seclusion. Immortal Palace's intelligence system had been collecting information from the outside world. Chapter 2593. However, Lin Xian was still in seclusion, so they couldn't send the news in. They could only leave it outside the hall. They would wait for Lin Xian to come out of seclusion before watching. In fact, there was no need for them to investigate. The entire Middle Ground was talking about this matter. Not only Middle Ground but Eastern Wilderness, Western Desert, Northern Plains, Southern Border, and the 5 continents of the world were all talking about this matter. That was because what had happened this time was simply too shocking. How many thousands of years had it been since so many invincible kings participated in the battle? It was a truly earth-shattering battle. Countless territories sank, seas of blood floated, and ghosts wailed and wolves howled. In fact, the corpses of 2 saints were also fighting. Once the saints' nomological powers were unleashed, it created a new world. Wherever it passed, everything was destroyed. It could be said to be a catastrophe. Countless territories and cities were reduced to ashes in this battle. This battle had been going on for a year. The battle was not over yet. Every day there would be people injured and leave, and new powerhouses would join the battle. It continued. In the blink of an eye, another half a year passed. In this half a year, the battle became even more intense. Many living fossils even came out of seclusion to fight for it. It couldn't be helped. The Yuhua immortal robe was too mysterious. It was rumored that it could bring the dead back to life, and it seemed to have been proven. A saint who had been dead for tens of thousands of years was actually breathing and could still fight. This undoubtedly proved the mystery of the Yuhua immortal robe. If these living fossils could obtain it, they might really be able to live forever. Among the endless mountains, the mountain peaks stood tall like giant swords that pierced into the clouds. On the highest mountain peak, a group of people appeared there. Their expressions were cold and their auras were powerful. Even a glance could penetrate the void. There was a man wearing golden armor standing on the peak of the mountain with his hands behind his back. He looked into the distance, his eyes flickering. No one knew what he was thinking. Behind him stood dozens of figures. There were old and young, but without exception, their auras were all very powerful. At this moment, they stood respectfully behind the golden-armored man as if waiting. At this moment, a living fossil spoke. "Warlord, don't wait any longer. The Yuhua immortal robe is extremely rare. We must snatch it. Perhaps with it, our war race can truly appear on the ground again." War race. This group of people were actually from the war race. As for the middle-aged man before them, he was the war clan's current clan chief. Hearing the words Yuhua immortal robe, the battle master's eyes lit up. He naturally wanted to possess such a peerless treasure. After pondering for a moment, the battle master spoke in a low voice. "This time I will personally take action." "What? Battle Lord, are you going to personally take action?" The elders behind him were shocked beyond words. It had been many years since the battle master had made a move. Who would have thought that he would make a move himself this time? However, on second thought, it did make sense. The Yuhua immortal robe was such a magical item that even their battle masters would be tempted by it. Among them, quite a few elders laughed. With a war master personally taking action, this was definitely an easy task. The war master nodded. Then his gaze turned unusually cold. "What about Jianghu? Was she killed?" The faces of the elders behind him also darkened. Jianghu was a genius of their war clan. She possessed an atavistic bloodline. It could be said that she was someone they nurtured with everything they had. However, he was actually killed by someone. His body and soul were destroyed and not even a trace of his soul escaped. This drove them mad. They swore that no matter who it was, they would not forgive anyone who dared to kill the war concubine. When the war concubine was killed, many people saw it. That was why, after asking around a bit, these people from the war clan knew who the culprit was. However, when they obtained the culprit, these people could no longer remain calm, all of them about to vomit blood from anger. Lin Xian. It was Lin Xian again. This name was definitely not unfamiliar to them. It was because this fella not only killed the war concubine, but also their golden lion king before. Their 2 heavenly geniuses were both killed by the other party. How could they tolerate this? Bring that person back. Regardless of whether he is some immortal palace master or something else, he must be brought back. I want him to kneel before my war clan and receive the world's cruelest punishment. The battle master's voice was exceptionally cold. "Yes, battle master, do not worry, we will do it right away." Behind him, those elders respectfully agreed. Among them, a man even knelt on one knee in midair. Battlemaster, do not worry, I will definitely personally bring that brat back. This man was precisely Jianghu. Previously he had tried to kill Lin Xian once, but the other party escaped. He did not expect that the other party would kill one of their war clan's heavenly geniuses. This time he would definitely not let the other party go. The Battlemaster nodded. This time there could not be any mishaps. Therefore, apart from Wuhan, the other three should also take action. The four of you war kings should take action together and bring that brat back. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. The four war kings were the four most powerful people in their war clan. Any one of them would be able to dominate a region in the outside world. At this moment, the four of them were taking action just to capture a brat? They did not dare believe it. Thinking about it, the Battlemaster must be extremely angry. However, when they thought about it, they also gnashed their teeth, wishing that they could tear the other party into pieces. Yes. Zhang Wuhan respectfully agreed. Beside him, three figures also walked out. None of their auras were weaker than his. They were the four war kings. The people of the war clan were relieved. With the four war kings taking action, the other party would definitely not be able to escape. On the other side in the Stellar Hall. At the entrance of the hall, scrolls were piled up one after another. Each scroll represented a new piece of news from the outside world. At this moment they were piled up like a mountain. On this day there was finally a change in the Stellar Hall. A terrifying power erupted like a flash flood. Above the Stellar Hall, a huge vortex appeared. Countless amounts of spiritual energy instantly surged from the vortex into the Stellar Hall. This scene naturally attracted the attention of others. Many people soared into the air and looked into the distance. It was the Stellar Hall. Could it be that the Palace Master was breaking through? That must be it. Heavens, this was too heaven-defying, right? How long had it been since the Palace Master broke through? Now he was breaking through? What do you know? The Palace Master's harvest this time was extremely bountiful. There were so many heavenly treasures and the Palace Master's shocking talent. Thinking about it, he would definitely be able to break through. Many immortal palace martial artists became excited, especially the person who entered the ancient tomb with Lin Xian. He was extremely excited. That was because after returning from the ancient tomb, they had already treated Lin Xian as their idol. There was no helping it. The glory that Lin Xian displayed in the ancient tomb was too shocking. Even the people of the Peacock clan were deeply impressed. In the sky, the huge vortex lasted for about half a day. The surging power became stronger and stronger. At the 9th time it reached a peak. Chapter 2594. Immediately after, the energy that filled the sky receded like the tide. The terrifying sword shadow also slowly dissipated. The door of the starry hall opened once again. A figure walked out of the cave. He was young, flamboyant, and his eyes were as deep as the stars. His red robe was burning like a raging fire. This figure was naturally Lin Xian. At this moment he had a smile on his face. After a year and a half of seclusion, coupled with countless natural treasures, he finally had a breakthrough. At this moment he had reached the late 7-star king realm. Compared to before, his strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. Now, if he were to face a genius with an atavistic bloodline like the Jianghu, it would not be so troublesome to kill her. He could easily kill the other party. This was because his strength had increased greatly after advancing a level. More importantly, the great dragon sword soul had awakened even further. His combat strength had skyrocketed. Ordinary saints were no match for him at all. Whether the top ones could fight him or not depended on whether they had made a breakthrough in the past year and a half. If they had made a breakthrough and kept up with his pace, then they could naturally fight him. However, if they had not made a breakthrough, then they might not be Lin Xian's match. In a magnificent hall of the Yi family, Yi Wudao opened his eyes. The golden light on his body was very dazzling, and a hazy golden shadow appeared in front of him. He had finally reached the late 7-star realm. Yi Wudao walked out of the hall. As soon as he appeared, his body emitted a dazzling light, attracting the members of the Yi family. Wudao, you've made a breakthrough. The elders of the Yi family were overjoyed. Leaf Daodenier nodded, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Compared to before, his strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. Moreover, his bloodline power had become more condensed. The current him was much stronger than before. He looked up at the sky, his eyes flickering. He wondered if those people had made a breakthrough. The people he was talking about were naturally Lin Xian, the Alcade Saint, Gu Santong, the Prince of the Great Xia, and the others. In the endless starry sky of the Gu family, a figure appeared. His face was very pale as if he was ill. However, his eyes were incomparably deep. This person was Gu Santong. After a year and a half of cultivation, he had also broken through. He was not the only one. Most of the others had broken through as well. That was because those who came back alive from this trip to the ancient tomb were all full of rewards. The harvest was very bountiful. This was especially true for top geniuses like Yi Wudao and Gu Santong. Among them, the prince of the great Xia dynasty, No Flower, Murong Qingqing, Shinjingqiu, and the others had all broken through and advanced to the next realm. Demon Imperial Palace. Wuxia had also broken through. Yan Ryu's aura had become even more mysterious. No one knew whether or not Yan Ryu had broken through. However, when the people of the Demon Imperial Palace saw Yan Ryu, they couldn't help but want to kneel down and worship her. In the past they also had such feelings, but they were not as strong. But this time they felt that they really couldn't control themselves and wanted to kneel down. It was too terrifying. These experts from the Demon Lord Hall trembled violently. They stared at Yan Ryu with respect. Even Huotiandu's expression became somewhat grave. He also felt a pressure coming from his bloodline. He couldn't help but be shocked. On the other side, Yin Yang sect. The Yin Yang saint walked out of a 10,000-foot-tall pagoda. His entire body emitted Yin Yang chi like a black and white sun shining in the sky. As soon as he appeared, he threw his head back and laughed ferociously. I finally broke through. In the past 1.5 years, he had finally broken through to the late-stage 7-star king realm. His strength was many times stronger than before. Lin Xian. Damn brat. This time I'll definitely kill you. After breaking through, the first thing that came to the Yin Yang saint's mind was revenge. Previously he had been defeated and almost killed by Lin Xian. He couldn't accept that. Therefore, after breaking through this time, he had to find Lin Xian for revenge. I'll go to the cave abode in the sacred ground and take a few treasures. Then I'll kill that brat. The Yin Yang saint's figure flashed and disappeared into the sky. Eastern wilderness, among the endless mountains. Cranes flew in the sky. This was the Taishan sacred ground. The Taishan sacred ground was also a peerless sacred ground in the eastern wilderness. At this moment, a figure sat cross-legged on the highest peak of the 100 peaks in the Taishan sacred ground. This person's black hair fluttered in the wind, and he wore a blue robe. He sat there like an immortal, giving off an indescribable aura. This person was the Taishan saint of the Taishan sacred ground. Whoosh! At this moment, a hazy light appeared in the sky. It was like a celestial palace floating on the peak of the mountain. Buzz! The Taishan saint flipped his palm and took out a guqin. He started to play it gently. The sound of the guqin jumped and shook the void. Soon, a voice came from the celestial palace. It was extremely solemn. You broke through. This is the 6 pulses divine melody. You can actually reach such a level. Could it be that you've already broken through to become an 8-star king? The voice in the celestial palace was extremely shocked. It even trembled a little. Buzz! The guqin stopped and the Taishan saint slowly stood up. You should keep this to yourself. I don't want a second person to know. Speaking of this, a cold light appeared in his eyes. The surrounding space instantly froze. The celestial palace in the sky also started to tremble violently. In just an instant, this ominous aura disappeared without a trace. Don't worry, I know. After all, we are on the same side. The figure in the celestial palace said. I still have to thank you for helping me obtain the position of Jiuxiao Seiko. It's good that you know. The Taishan saint said indifferently. If someone else was here, they would be extremely shocked. This mysterious palace actually belonged to the 9 heavens sacred ground. The figure in the palace should be the new Jiuxiao Seiko. The previous Jiuxiao Seiko had the celestial palace, but he was still killed. This was simply unbelievable. They had even suspected that Lin Xian was the one who did it. However, they did not know that there was a mole in the 9 heavens sacred ground. A candidate saint had even killed the Jiuxiao Seiko together with the Taishan saint. Perhaps no one had expected such a scene to occur. Brother Yun, you have already broken through to become an 8-star king. I'm afraid no one in the younger generation is your match. The new Jiuxiao Seiko said with a smile. The Taishan saint waved his hand and kept the guqin. He stood with his hands behind his back, looked at the clouds and sighed. You have underestimated those people. Do you think that I'm the only one who has broken through to become an 8-star king? What? Hearing this, the people in the celestial palace were stunned. Then they said, that's impossible. I've already asked around. Even Yi Wudao, Gu Santong, and the others have only broken through to the late-stage 7-star king. The Yi family and the Gu family were both clans of the ancients. Their bloodlines were so terrifying, but none of them had broken through to become an 8-star king. Chapter 2595. The Taishan Saint shook his head. It seems like you really just became a saint and don't understand it at all. At this point, the suppression of one's cultivation was of great use. However, you mustn't underestimate the Yi and Gu families. Once their bloodline power erupts, the power is far beyond your imagination. Therefore, even though I've broken through and become an 8-star king, I still don't have full confidence against someone like Yi Wudao. In fact, 50% confidence is already very good. What? Is Yi Wudao so powerful? That person was shocked. He didn't expect that the Taishan Saint, who was a realm higher than the other party, would only have a 50% chance of winning. This was too much of a shock to his understanding. Moreover, it's not just Yi Wudao who has to be careful. I think there's someone who should have become an 8-star king. Who is it? The people in the Immortal Palace were very curious. The Taishan Saint's eyes gradually became focused, like two divine swords piercing through the void. He said in a deep voice, "Wavering Light Saint. Wavering Light Saint. Are you saying that the Wavering Light Saint has also become an 8-star king?" The figure in the Immortal Palace exclaimed in disbelief. The Taishan Saint said in a deep voice, "Although I have not confirmed it, according to my guess, the possibility should be above 80%. More than an 80% chance." The people in the Immortal Palace fell silent. Since the other party had said so, then there was a high chance that the Wavering Light Saint had already broken through to the 8-star king realm. Thinking of this, he fell silent. He was still only a mid-7-star. He was far behind these people. After pondering for a long time, he asked again, "What about that Lin Xian? What do you think of him? According to my guess, he should have also broken through. Because his harvest this time was too rich, but it was impossible for him to break through to the 8-star king realm. Because time was too short. He should also be a late-stage 7-star king." The Taishan Saint's son said in a low voice. However, he could not be underestimated. His swordsmanship is very strange. Although he doesn't have bloodline power, I have a feeling that there's a supreme treasure in his body. However, I still don't understand what it is. Damn it, as long as this guy is alive, he will always be a threat. The person in the Immortal Palace had a worried look. I have just become a Jiuxiao Seiko. With the relationship between our 9-night Holy Land and the other party, there will definitely be a great battle. At that time, I will have no choice but to stand up for him. However, I'm no match for him right now. Don't worry, you don't need to do anything. He killed 2 of the war race's geniuses, so the war race won't let him go. Also, I don't think the Yin-Yang sect will let him go either. It had to be said that he had provoked too many forces. Indeed, the war race definitely wouldn't let him go. The new Jiuxiao Seiko sneered. As long as the war race took action, he could sit back and relax. On the other side, Starry Hall. After Lin Xian came out, he began to look at the mountain of information at the door. After his strength had increased, his soul power had also increased by a level. Now, his soul power was very close to Invincible King level. Not only that, but his combat power was also very close. If he attacked with his full strength, killing a late-stage 8-star king was not a problem for him. With a thought, Lin Xian understood all the information. Then he frowned. It had been a year and a half, but the war was still going on. Not only did it not weaken, but it became more and more intense. The various living fossils, elders, and even the sect master had taken action. And the corpses of the 2 sages were becoming more and more terrifying. Not only did their energy not weaken, but it also recovered faster. In fact, it even sucked dozens of earth spirit veins dry. This shocked everyone. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. If these 2 sages were really resurrected, they would probably be in danger. No matter how many invincible kings there were, it would not be enough. Unless the sages of the other sacred grounds took action, they might not be able to subdue them. He wondered how the 6 great protectors were doing. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. The 6 great protectors of the Immortal Palace had also gone to search for the Yuhua Immortal Robe. Even the old palace master had taken action. Forget it, let's not think about this. Lin Xian shook his head. These were too far away for him. He had just broken through and consumed half of the resources in his hands. He did not absorb the rest immediately because he had just broken through and it was not suitable for him to go into seclusion. He planned to go out for a walk and refine the realm he had just entered. However, before he went out, he still had one more thing to do. He called out the dark red divine dragon. Previously, there were 2 things in the bronze treasure box. One was the jade seal that opened the coffin of the sage, and the other was a piece of beast skin. At that time, it was snatched by the dark red divine dragon. Lin Xian and the others did not have time to watch the various battles and life-and-death situations. After returning, he immediately went into seclusion. Therefore, this thing had always been in his hands and he had never seen it. Now that he had time, he called out the dark red divine dragon and the two of them prepared to study it together. The dark red divine dragon also came out of seclusion. He had also broken through to the late-stage 7-star king realm. His cultivation was the same as Lin Xian's, and his strength was about the same. This surprised the dark red divine dragon. His current strength was about the same as when he was at his peak. Although he was still a little short, he thought that he would be able to fully recover soon. At that time he would be able to command the wind and clouds. "Kid, why are you looking for me? Do you want to exchange a few blows?" Having just broken through, the dark red divine dragon was very excited. He really wanted to find someone to fight. Therefore he stared at Lin Xian. Lin Xian waved his hand and said, "Stop fooling around, I have something serious to talk to you about." As he said that, he took out the beast's skin. "Do you still remember this? Are you talking about the treasure you got from the bronze treasure box?" "Why don't I remember? I was the one who snatched it." The dark red divine dragon had a smug look on his face. Then he waved his dragon claws and grabbed the beast's skin again. Then he opened it. "Let me see what kind of treasure is in there. Do you think it's a sage's cultivation method?" The sage's cultivation method was very terrifying. It had already surpassed the heaven-grade cultivation method. If they could get it, it would be of great help to their own strength. However, after opening it, the two of them frowned. There was indeed something on it. There were strange runes, but they did not recognize them. "Damn it, why are these runes so similar to the runes on the walls of the sage's ancient tomb? This should be an extremely ancient language that we can't understand at all." The dark red divine dragon sighed. He could recognize the ancient language. However, this was not an ancient language. This was even more complicated than the ancient language. "Damn it, what era is this language from? Ancient? Ancient?" He had no idea. In fact, he even suspected that it was an immortal pattern. Chapter 2596. The origin of Immortal Palace was mysterious and had a long history. Perhaps someone inside would recognize it. Thus, Lin Xian called for some of the Immortal Palace's elders to come over and see if they could recognize those characters. Those elders also frowned and shook their heads. They didn't recognize it. In fact, a few living fossils were also at a loss. They exclaimed. This language was too ancient, far beyond their knowledge. The 6 great protectors weren't here. Perhaps they knew something. An elder said. However, the living fossil elder shook his head. The 6 great protectors probably didn't know. Perhaps only the old palace master knew. However, because of the Yuhua immortal robe, the old palace master had already left Immortal Palace and wasn't here for the time being. "Palace master, why don't you wait for the old palace master to come back and show it to him?" Well, it seemed that this was the only way. Lin Xian nodded. He wasn't in a hurry. Anyway, the thing was in his hands. He would be able to crack it sooner or later. He put away the beast's skin. Then, after discussing with the dark red divine dragon, they decided to go out and see what changes there were outside. Lin Xian and the dragon left Immortal Palace and set off outside. The two of them first went to the place where the ancient tomb was located. When they arrived, there was already no one there. Originally, they thought that many people would go in to explore the ancient tomb. However, that wasn't the case. The entire ancient tomb had completely sunk and was sealed again. Without a large number of formation masters, it was impossible to break it open continuously. Therefore, those ordinary warriors couldn't enter at all. Over time, there weren't many people here. Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon walked around and found that there was nothing around. The two of them looked at each other and said, "Let's go." The two of them swayed and flew into the distance. However, not long after, Lin Xian frowned. His soul power was now infinitely close to that of an invincible king. Therefore, the range of his detection was very wide. He found that there were many auras flying towards him from afar. Among them, there was the power of the 5 elements, the power of the 9 heavens, and the power of yin and yang that he was very familiar with. Come to think of it, they should be people from these sections. He didn't expect them to be guarding here. Should he make a move? The dark red divine dragon said. Lin Xian shook his head. They were just a bunch of trash, not worth his time. Indeed, his eyesight had improved a lot compared to before, and he already looked down on those disciples of the Holy Lands. That's true. The dark red dragon swung its tail, and the two of them sped up and flew into the distance. With their speed, they quickly shook off those Holy Lands disciples. However, after flying for a while, Lin Xian frowned again. This was because he discovered that there was another force following closely behind. Moreover, the distance between them was getting closer and closer. Lin Xian frowned. Beside him, the dark red dragon asked, "Kid, what's wrong?" Lin Xian said, "There were still people chasing after them." "There was someone else?" The dark red divine dragon snorted coldly. "Who was it that was so reckless? Come, this emperor wants to fight 300 rounds with him. Let's go and find a safe place. Let's see who dares to follow us." The two of them flashed and flew into the distance. Finally, they found a place that was more suitable for fighting, and the two of them stopped. It didn't fly again. Behind him, that aura also erupted abruptly and rapidly approached. Soon, a figure appeared in front of the two of them. Seeing this figure, the two of them frowned. Especially Lin Xian, a cold murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Jianghu, it was actually him. Lin Xian had a very deep impression of this person. Last time he fought with him. At that time he was only an early-stage 7-star king, and the other party was a mid-stage 8-star powerhouse. In that battle, he used many trump cards and even unlocked the Saint's Hand Bone. However, the other party was still able to block it. If not for Xiajuyo, he would really be in danger. But now that might not be the case. In a short 3 years, she had become a late-stage 7-star king. Now he could even kill a late-stage 8-star powerhouse. Therefore, when he met Jianghu again, he wasn't nervous at all. Instead, he was a little excited. He was looking forward to it. He was going to kill this person with his own hands. It was actually him. It was someone from the war tribe again. Damned war clan, they really are like ghosts that won't disperse. The dark red dragon snorted coldly. He discovered that the other party came alone. This guy from the war tribe was really arrogant. He actually came alone. Oh no, there was also a big bird. He looked forward. Under Jianghu's feet, there was a golden rock. It spread its wings and flew over quickly. The golden rock spread its wings. It was thousands of meters long, like a golden mountain flying in the sky. Although it was big, its speed could be said to be very fast, like lightning. In an instant, it brought Jianghu to Lin Xian's vicinity. "Kid, it's really you?" Jianghu stood on the golden rock. He looked into the distance and sneered. Their war tribe's 4 great war kings searched from the east, west, north, and south. This time they definitely wouldn't let the other party go. Jianghu didn't expect his luck to be so good. He actually encountered the other party. Therefore, he didn't hesitate and directly chased over. He didn't immediately send a message to the other 3 war kings because he felt that with his strength, it would be easy to kill the other party. This was because he had already investigated clearly. Immortal Palace's 6 great protectors had gone to search for the Yuhua immortal robe. Immortal Palace's old palace master, Xiajuyo, had also gone. This time, no one would come to save the other party. He wanted to personally capture the other party and bring him back. He wanted to let the other party know the consequences of going against his war tribe. "Kid, I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and accept your death. Your trump card is useless against me. You have a saint's fragment, but so do I." Jianghu stood with his hands behind his back. He stood on the golden rock like a war god, unstoppable. He looked ahead disdainfully, not putting Lin Xian in his eyes at all. This was because he had already seen Lin Xian's trump card last time. He could completely deal with it. Last time, if not for Xiajuyo, he would have killed the other party long ago. "Kneel down and accept your death? You really think highly of yourself?" Lin Xian snorted coldly. "The current me is no longer the strength of 3 years ago. This time, the one who will be killed will be you." His body emitted a biting cold sword intent. "The one who will be killed will be me?" Hearing this, Jianghu sneered disdainfully. "Kid, you're dreaming. I know that you had some fortuitous encounters in the saint's ancient tomb, but do you think that a short 3 years can make up for the distance between us? You're too naive. I'll let you know how big the gap between us is. Not to mention 3 years, you won't be my match even in 300 years. Jianghu snorted coldly, his body also emitting a terrifying aura. He didn't think that the other party could defeat him. Even with the snake beside him, they weren't his match. This was because the golden-winged rock under his feet wasn't just a mount, it was also an extremely terrifying demon king. Chapter 2597. Bus. As expected, the golden rock flapped its wings and formed a terrifying golden storm. A terrifying power swept out from its body. Jianghu's body also surged with a terrifying aura. A golden spear appeared in his hand, emitting a dazzling light. With a furious roar, he thrust out his spear. It was like a golden dragon flying out. The golden rock under his feet also cooperated with him and quickly attacked. In an instant, Lin Xian was completely enveloped. Light tore through the clouds and a terrifying power pierced through the void. One ruffian dragon each. Lin Xian's body glowed with sword light. The dragon sword field enveloped him and blocked the terrifying power. And Hong, who was at the side, also laughed. "Alright, I'll roast this golden rock." As he spoke, he charged over. A dragon claw covered the sky and pressed down from the sky. This time the dragon claw surged with blood chi. It was as if it could split the sky and the earth. Zhang Wuhan's body swayed. He left the golden rock and flew toward Lin Xian. He did not care about the dark red dragon because he believed that his golden rock could definitely kill it. He only needed to capture this kid in front of him. Buzz. The golden rock roared. Its golden wings were like heavenly blades. They shone brightly and directly resisted the dragon claw. The collision of the two was earth-shattering. The two beasts fought. On the other side, Lin Xian and Zhang Wuhan were also fighting. The ancient dragon abyss sword and the golden battle spear collided. Light danced in the sky and the void was completely pierced through. Countless sword lights circled around him. Seeing that his opponent could block his attack, Zhang Wuhan snorted coldly. "Kit, you've indeed become stronger. Is this what gives you the right to be so arrogant? You're too naive. I haven't even used my full strength." As he spoke, the golden light in his hand became stronger. An even more terrifying power spread out. "Is that so? I haven't used my full strength either." Lin Xian snorted as well. The sword chi on his body shone brighter. Boom. With a dragon roar, the dragon sword soul completely exploded. A terrifying sword light tore through the sky. The moment this sword chi appeared, Zhang Wuhan's pupils constricted. His expression changed. This sword chi was so powerful. Damn it, how could this brat's strength become so strong? He was simply too shocked because the current Lin Xian was several times stronger than the one he had seen 3 years ago. This was something he didn't dare to imagine. It should be known that every time one reached the level of Almighty or Peerless Almighty, it would take hundreds of years. He might not even succeed. Yet, in just 3 short years, the other party had actually improved so much. How did this kid do it? Zhang Wuhan gritted his teeth. "So what if you've become stronger? I will not be defeated." He had complete confidence in himself. His cultivation was higher than the other parties, and in terms of talent and bloodline, he was superior to the other party. He didn't believe that the other party could surpass his level and defeat him. "Kill!" Wuhan Zhan roared. Countless rays of light appeared on his body, forming a battle diagram. This was the power of his bloodline. As soon as he activated it, a terrifying power surged out, containing a mysterious might. Buzz. The bloodline battle diagram floated out of Wuhan Zhan's body and rolled in the sky. It was as if a blood-red world had descended upon the human world. There were many mysterious and terrifying runes on it. They flickered in the sky and pressed down on Lin Xian. 5 elements sword, 5 elements as one. Lin Xian waved his sword, and the 5 elements sword flew out in the sky and intertwined, forming a terrifying 5 elements sword light. It slashed towards the sky. The 5 elements sword was extremely terrifying. In addition to the power of Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul, it was truly capable of slaying gods and Buddhas. In an instant, it collided with the terrifying bloodline battle diagram. The collision of the two was earth-shattering. At the same time, Lin Xian waved his left hand and took out Flower Protector. He shook it gently and a corner of the seal was lifted. A terrifying demonic sound pierced through the seal. The sound was too terrifying. Not only did it impact a martial artist's body, but it could also harm their soul. Buzz. Zhang Wuhan's body trembled, and a look of shock appeared in his eyes. The blood in his body was boiling, and he felt as if his body was about to explode. "Damn it, what is this thing?" He looked at the octagonal bell in the sky and in the next moment he exclaimed, "Get lost." With a furious roar, the bloodline power in his body quickly bloomed, forming a blood-colored pagoda that enveloped his body. However, Flower Protector was refined by a sage, and it was a peerless weapon. Although only a small part of it had been lifted, it was not that easy to resist. As expected, although Zhang Wuhan had used the bloodline pagoda, it was still difficult for him to resist. Buzz. The 5 seals on the ancient dragon abyss sword were lifted, and its power skyrocketed. The terrifying ancient dragon abyss sword transformed into a giant sword that was hundreds of feet long and descended from the sky. Not good. Zhang Wuhan's pupils constricted, and he hurriedly waved his golden spear in front of him to block. With a clang, the golden spear kept trembling and Zhang Wuhan's arm went numb. His arm was broken. His entire body was pushed back continuously, shattering the void. Bang! Bang! He only stopped after retreating for a few thousand miles. At this moment he was in a sorry state and his hair was disheveled. Both his arms were broken and blood stained his armor. Crack! 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 His bloodline power surged and his arms grew back. Zhang Wuhan roared at the sky. Damn thief, I'm going to kill you. He swore that he would kill Lin Fan and only bring his soul back. He was simply too furious. Thinking back, he had vowed solemnly that the other party would definitely not be a match for him. But now, in an instant he was severely injured and Lin Fan was unharmed. He could not believe it and he could not accept it. Kid, you've completely angered me. I'll show you my true power. Zhang Wuhan's black hair danced wildly, and his eyes were as sharp as blades. He quickly formed seals with his hands and the power in his body kept rolling. Rumble. The sky split open and dark clouds covered the surroundings. An endless sea of blood surged. Buzz. A blood-colored steel descended from the sky. This blood-colored steel was thousands of feet tall, and it was covered with mysterious runes. It emitted a powerful aura. The moment it appeared, the sky within a few million miles was completely dyed red. Countless seas of blood floated in the sky, and it even rained blood. The ground was instantly dyed red. You're just an ant. How can you fight against the war tribe? Now go to hell for me. Zhang Wuhan stood in the sky, looking down like a demon king. He waved his hand and the blood-colored steel in the sky quickly pressed down. Wherever it passed, the void shattered. Nothing could stop it. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. This blood-colored steel was too much of a threat to him. Moreover, the runes on it rotated, making him feel like his body was being sealed. This blood-colored steel had a suppressive effect. The space around him froze and he could not move at all. He even felt that his blood and soul were about to be suppressed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Sword chi rushed out of his body, rushing in all directions. He wanted to break through space and escape this place. However, the surrounding sea of blood wrapped tightly around the sword lights, swallowing them. Chapter 2598. Brat, don't waste your energy struggling. This blood-colored sky steel is not something you can imagine. You can't fight it. Indeed, the blood-colored steel was his bloodline ability. It was extremely terrifying. It could even kill someone with a higher cultivation level than him. Not to mention a kid with a lower cultivation level than him. The blood-colored steel suppressed everything and enveloped Lin Xian. You want to suppress me with a mere steel? What a joke. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The great dragon sword soul in his body circulated crazily. Chaotic sky destroyer sword sky shattering. With a slash of the sword, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. This sword slashed onto the blood-colored steel and a shocking collision occurred. The blood-colored steel stopped descending. It was blocked by the longsword. Not only that, but a crack appeared on the steel and spread in all directions. More and more cracks appeared. With a final boom, the blood-colored steel exploded. What other tricks do you have? Use them all. Lin Xian pointed his sword at the sky. Zhang Wuhan's pupils constricted. He did not expect his blood-colored steel to be broken just like that. He could not believe it. Damn it. He quickly dodged because Lin Xian once again brandished his sword and charged over. With a slash, the long sword landed on his armor, producing a clanking sound. His armor was cut open. Blood even oozed out from his shoulder. Whoosh. Blood dyed the sky red. If someone was here, they would definitely scream. That was because that sword strike was truly too terrifying. Lin Xian was too terrifying. He could actually hurt Zhang Wuhan. Zhang Wuhan was also shocked. He had never expected to be hurt by his opponent. He roared. Get lost. The terrifying fist seemed to have turned into a starry sky as it charged toward Lin Xian. Bang. The ancient dragon abyss sword was sent flying. Bang. 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 Lin Xian also kept retreating. The blood in his body was boiling. He had to admit that Zhang Wuhan was very powerful. He was definitely a peerless battle monarch. Even a late-stage 8-star monarch would not be able to suppress him. However, Lin Xian was fearless. No matter how strong his opponent was, he could kill him today. He would not let his opponent leave. Kill. With a furious roar, Lin Xian's long sword soared through the air. The shadow of a dragon appeared beneath his feet, roaring in the void. The terrifying dragon-shaped sword chi slashed forward towards Zhang Wuhan. Bloodline power appeared on Zhang Wuhan's body. The blood-red battle map wrapped around his body. He held the golden spear in his hand and swung it around. Boom, boom. The two of them continuously clashed, causing the heavens to collapse and the earth to split. The two of them used all of their strength, killing until the heavens and earth lost their color. After the two of them exchanged 300 moves, a miserable shriek suddenly rang out. Then a violent demonic aura rolled out. Noticing this change, Traceless War's expression changed. Not good. He turned to look into the distance. The golden-winged Great Peng's body was cut in half. Its body, which was nearly 1,000 meters long, split open. Blood turned into a sea of blood that surged in the sky. Large amounts of feathers fell, piercing through the void. Damn it, how is this possible? Wuhanzhan was stunned. His golden-winged rock was a peerless demon king. It was also a heaven and earth variant. It was extremely terrifying. Ordinary almighties would not be able to hurt him. But now he was actually killed by someone. Damn it. What the hell was that snake? He realized that everything related to Lin Xian was so strange. The golden-winged Great Peng wailed. Its broken body wanted to recover. However, the dark red dragon would not give it a chance. He opened his mouth and spat out flames that covered the broken body. The golden-winged Great Peng screamed. Its body emitted the fragrance of roasted meat. The dark red dragon threw its head back and laughed. Haha, I haven't eaten roasted golden peng in a long time. I'll have a good meal today. Damn snake, go to hell for me. Wuhanzhan was furious. He threw a punch. That was his mount. How could he allow it to be killed? However, his fist was blocked halfway. Lin Xian's sword slashed through the void. Your opponent is me. Damn it. Wuhanzhan roared. A blood-red light bloomed on his body. The blood-red battle map floated out again. He grabbed it in his hand as if it was holding a world. He threw it forward. Boom, 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 boom. The two collided. The scene was too terrifying. The blood-red world seemed to exist as it shattered the void. It completely enveloped Lin Xian. It wanted to refine Lin Xian into a pool of blood. Lin Xian held the long sword in his hand and transformed into a giant dragon. He soared into the sky and collided with the blood-red world. Boom, 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 boom. The blood-red world collapsed. Ah! Wuhanzhan roared. His entire body merged into the blood-red battle map. His body turned into a battle map. The battle map stabilized. Not only that, but its power also increased exponentially. Die, brat. At this moment, Wuhanzhan activated his bloodline power to the extreme. Lin Xian also roared. He let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. He merged with the great dragon sword soul, and their huge bodies collided with each other non-stop. Not only that, but he also released terrifying sword chi. The entire world was shattering. Boom. The blood-red world crashed into Lin Xian. He vomited blood and was sent flying. However, Lin Xian's sword chi hit the blood-red battle map. Wuhanzhan also vomited blood. His body had been pierced through. 3 terrifying sword chis pierced through his body, nailing him to the void. Wuhanzhan screamed. He let out a sizzling sound as he refined the blood-red sword chi. On the other side, Lin Xian also stabilized his body. He destroyed all the blood-red aura on his body. The sharp light in his eyes became even brighter. Kill, kill. 2 furious roars rang out. The two of them fought fiercely again. Streaks of Dragon Star Sword Chi shot into the sky from Lin Xian's body. On the other side, Wuhanzhan also dragged the blood-red world and fought fiercely. Neither of them used their Saint's fragments. They knew that it would be useless even if they used them. Because both of them used their Saint's fragments, they would cancel each other out. It was better to use their own ultimate skills and fight to the death. This battle lasted for 5 days and 5 nights. Both of them were severely injured. However, Wuhanzhan was in a worse state. His body was split open twice. Once, his head was almost split open. It had even hurt his soul. This scared him out of his wits. Fortunately, he managed to dodge it in the end. He looked ahead and his expression became extremely ugly. He did not expect this battle to be so difficult. If he had known, he would not have come alone. He would have called the other 3 battle monarchs over. If the 4 of them worked together, they could easily kill Wuhanzhan. However, it was too late to say anything now. He was summoning the other 3 battle monarchs. They probably would not arrive anytime soon. It seemed that he could only use the ancestor's shadow. Wuhanzhan's eyes turned serious. He had the atavistic bloodline. The next moment, he knelt on one knee and bit his finger. He used his blood to draw strange runes in the air, forming a law. Welcome, ancestor. Wu Hanzhan's voice rang out. The blood-red runes floated in the air. Bus. A blood-red figure gradually took shape. Chapter 2599. He knew that this was the spirit of the ancestor of the war tribe. He had seen it on Jianghu before. At that time, the ancestor phantom that Jianghu summoned was already very powerful. Even Lin Xian felt a headache coming on. Now, Zhan Wuhan was even more terrifying than Jianghu. How terrifying would the ancestor phantom that he summoned be? Lin Xian didn't know. He decided that he couldn't wait any longer. He had to take the initiative. Bus. With a wave of his hand, Flower Protector flew over and floated above the ancestor phantom. It let out a terrifying demonic sound. It formed rolling waves that shrouded the ancestor phantom. Bus. Flower Protector was too terrifying. The aura that hung down was so terrifying that it even attracted the heavenly lightning. Countless lightning bolts descended, completely shrouding the ancestor phantom. The terrifying energy pierced through all directions. If it's useless, you can't break my ancestor phantom. Zhan Wuhan wasn't worried about this scene. He just knelt down devoutly. The speed of his hand seals became faster and faster. As expected, the hazy figure was struck by lightning and the sound waves. It wasn't affected at all. Instead, it became more and more corporeal. With a roar, the ancestor phantom attacked. It directly shattered the heavenly lightning and sent Flower Protector flying. Bus. A palm with a supreme aura grabbed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian also reached out with the Azure Dragon palm. This palm seemed to have transformed into the Azure Dragon's huge claw. It was extremely ferocious. Scales appeared on it, surrounded by terrifying sword chi. The collision between the two caused the sky to crumble and the earth to crack. Lin Xian's sword chi pierced through the blood-colored palm. What ancestor phantom? It's not like I haven't killed one before. Lin Xian pointed his sword forward. A golden light appeared in his eyes. Not good. A soul attack. Seeing this, Zhan Wuhan hurriedly created a pagoda to protect his soul. At the same time, he used a secret technique to resist. He knew about the other party's soul attack. He didn't dare to be careless. However, this time he didn't attack Zhan Wuhan. Instead, he looked at the ancestor phantom. He used the divine guidance secret technique to control the ancestor phantom. However, this ancestor's phantom was extremely terrifying. Even if it was only a trace of a remnant soul, it was still not something that Lin Xian could control. However, the impact was still not a problem. Lin Xian also formed a seal with his palms. Above his head, a pair of golden eyes appeared, overlooking the earth. The power of divine attraction increased exponentially. Finally, it affected the projection of the war race's ancestor. Damn it! Zhan Wuhan's face turned green. He realized that his connection with the ancestral projection had weakened. In fact, he couldn't even command the ancestral silhouette anymore. This left him extremely shocked and in disbelief. The other party's eyes were too terrifying. What other tricks do you have? Bring them all out. If you don't, then don't blame me for being rude. Lin Xian looked down at the front, his voice cold. Damn it! Wu Hanzhan roared again. Spear War 8 Baron. He brandished his golden spear with incomparable sharpness. At the same time, Traceless War also threw out several prized artifacts. A black pagoda, a purple gourd, and a blue flying sword. These three prized artifacts were extremely terrifying. They were all heaven-grade prized artifacts. Now that they attacked together, it was truly terrifying. Lin Xian didn't hold back either. He used the Chaotic Sky Destroyer sword and the Five-Element sword to the extreme. Dragon-shaped sword chi flew out. He also activated Flower Protector and the Heavenly Secret Divine Eye. All kinds of secret techniques were used. The entire place was in an uproar. Everything within a radius of several million miles was struck by the shockwave and was annihilated continuously. When all the light dissipated, Zhan Wuhan was covered in blood. The light in his eyes dimmed. The projection of the ancestor was still shattered and disappeared. It was completely out of his control. And he was also seriously injured in the collision just now. If he hadn't taken out the sage's fragment to defend himself at the end, he would probably have been killed. However, so what if he had the sage's fragment? His opponent had it too. As expected, Lin Xian took out the sage's hand bone and blocked Zhan Wuhan's fragment. Bus. The great dragon sword soul appeared and was held in his hand. Like a god of death, he walked forward step by step. Damn it! Zhan Wuhan spat out a mouthful of blood, which wrapped around his body. He turned into a streak of bloody light and fled into the distance. At this point, he had to admit that he was no match for his opponent. Although he found it hard to believe that he couldn't defeat someone he could easily kill 3 years ago. He didn't know what had happened, but he had to escape now. He wanted to join forces with the other 3 war monarchs to kill his opponent again. However, he no longer had the chance. Lin Xian wouldn't let him go. The dragon sword swayed and slashed out a terrifying sword light, cutting him in half. Zhang Wuhan screamed and tried to recover. However, the great dragon sword soul was actually so easy to destroy. His body couldn't heal quickly. But Lin Xian activated the heavenly secret divine eye again. A pair of golden eyes appeared in the sky and looked down. The soul ignition secret technique was activated and burned Zhang Wuhan's soul. Ah! Zhang Wuhan screamed as the 2 halves of his body rolled in the air. In the end, his soul was destroyed. The 2 halves of his body fell to the ground, creating 2 deep pits. Kid, his blood is good stuff. Don't waste it. Let's see if you can refine it. The dark red dragon flew over and waved its claws. It used a dragon's divine ability and collected all of Zhang Wuhan's blood. Whoosh! Zhang Wuhan's body quickly caved in and turned into a dried corpse. Lin Xian waved his hand and took Zhang Wuhan's storage ring. He also forcefully put away the 3 heaven-grade treasures. He used the proud heaven's secret divine eye to erase the soul imprints on them. Finally, he looked up at the sky. Facing off against the sage's hand was a broken pagoda. It was also a fragment of a sage. Its power wasn't any weaker than the sage's hand. Now that Zhang Wuhan was dead, it was his. Ruffian dragon joined forces and subdued the pagoda fragment. The dark red dragon and Lin Xian joined forces and used the great sealing art to seal the broken pagoda. Lin Xian gave the fragment to the dark red dragon. He already had one, so it was useless to have more. That was because he didn't have enough power to control 2 sage fragments at the same time. Giving it to the dark red dragon was just right. The dark red dragon's strength was about the same as his. The dark red dragon was his companion and had always been by his side. Giving it to the dark red dragon was equivalent to increasing his own combat strength. The dark red dragon didn't stand on ceremony and directly took the pagoda fragment. With this item, his strength would become even stronger. Lin Xian also put away the other 3 heaven-grade treasures. Lin Xian grabbed Zhang Wuhan and flicked a wisp of flame, burning Zhang Wuhan's body. Let's go. His figure flickered and he turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the sky. After flying for hundreds of thousands of miles, Lin Xian stopped and entered the Black Earth. Zhang Wuhan was a peerless king of battle. He was powerful and had a noble status. Moreover, he had been famous for many years. His storage ring must be very rich. Chapter 2600. There were hundreds of divine gems alone, and many of them were mutated. Apart from that, there were also many precious medicinal herbs. There were also finished pills. Lin Xian even found some secret pills that only the battle tribe had. This made him wild with joy. In addition to pills and divine crystals, there were also some top earth-grade weapons. However, Lin Xian didn't take a fancy to them. The best few heavenly-grade weapons had already been put away by him. Let me see what cultivation techniques there are. Lin Xian was looking forward to the battle tribe's Abhijna cultivation techniques. Because some of the Abhijna that Zhang Wuhan had used previously made him envious and shocked. The battle tribe was born for battle. They were a very powerful fighting tribe. Their cultivation techniques were definitely not weak. As expected, Lin Xian found a few heaven-grade cultivation techniques. The heaven-battling divine fist, the golden spear art, and the nine-fold thunder sword. Among them, the golden spear art and nine-fold thunder sword were elementary heaven-grade cultivation techniques. The heaven-battling divine fist was a mid-grade heaven-grade cultivation technique. Lin Xian gave up on the golden spear art. He used a sword, so he didn't practice spear arts. The nine-fold thunder sword was suitable for him, and the heaven-battling divine fist was also useful to him. He roughly flipped through it. The nine-fold thunder sword had a total of 9 levels. Every time he succeeded in cultivating a level, the lightning sword chi would become stronger. Moreover, it could be stacked 9 times. It was extremely terrifying, even comparable to a mid-grade heaven-grade cultivation technique. This is really a good thing. Lin Xian decided to cultivate. Then he looked at the heaven-battling divine fist. This fist technique was a secret technique of the battle tribe. It needed to be combined with the power of the bloodline to unleash 100% of its power. Lin Xian didn't care about this harsh condition because he had the great dragon sword soul and could simulate everything. Therefore he also prepared to cultivate. Since he had nothing to do, Lin Xian didn't go out. He directly cultivated in the Black Earth. The dark red divine dragon also began to seize the saint's fragment. Just like that, a month passed. The dark red divine dragon succeeded. It was as excited as an old monster shouting wildly. Lin Xian also opened his eyes. He had successfully cultivated the first layer of the 9-layered thunder sword. He had also grasped some superficial knowledge of the heaven-battling divine fist. He gave it a try and discovered that he could use the power of the great dragon sword spirit to replace the power of the battle race's bloodline. He was overjoyed as he could now practice the heaven-battling godly fist to its peak. With a flash, Lin Xian exited the Black Earth. He was prepared to take a stroll around to see if there was any news or whereabouts of the Yuhua immortal robe. Hundreds of thousands of miles away from here, a group of people was sitting on a mountain peak. Suddenly, the figure at the very front opened his eyes. In front of him was an 8 trigrams formation plate. At this moment, a red dot lit up and moved quickly. It had appeared. The figure sitting cross-legged spoke. Hearing this, another young man next to him opened his eyes. Black and white energy quickly spread out from his body, looking very mysterious. Yin Yang Saint. This young man was the Yin Yang Saint. Many Yin Yang sect experts followed behind him. No wonder you're the clairvoyant master's disciple. You found that guy's whereabouts so easily. Thank you, brothery. The Yin Yang Saint smiled at the young man sitting cross-legged beside him. The young man was wearing a Taoist robe, and his black hair was tied up with a green thread. He picked up the 8 trigrams formation plate in front of him, stood up, and nodded. The Yin Yang Saint is too polite. It's the rule of the clairvoyant sect to do things for others. He waved his hand and the formation plate turned into a light image floating in the sky. Since I found that guy, I'll take my leave. Take care, brothery. The Yin Yang Saint smiled. The mysterious young man called Brother E vanished into thin air with a flicker. The Yin Yang Saint looked at the remaining light image in the sky and smiled. Everyone listened and prepared to set off. The Yin Yang Saint took the lead and led the Yin Yang sect experts behind him. They quickly soared into the sky. This time they were here to kill Lin Xian. The Yin Yang Saint had gone into seclusion, and his strength had increased greatly. Thus he was confident that he could kill Lin Xian. However, he did not know where Lin Xian was. So he found the clairvoyant sect's disciple. The clairvoyant sect was a very mysterious sect. They could predict everything in the world and claimed that there was nothing they did not know. The Yin Yang Saint spent a lot of money to get them to help. Just like that, they found Lin Xian's location. Now they were quickly chasing after Lin Xian. In the end, the Yin Yang Saint could not wait any longer. He waved his hand and countless Yin and Yang Qi tumbled, forming a huge jade door. It tore open the void and transported them directly. On the other side, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon continued on their way. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, dozens of miles away from them, the space cracked open, and a crack that was a few thousand meters wide appeared. It was as if it was torn apart by a pair of invisible hands. From within the crack, figures walked out one after another. They were densely packed, numbering at least a few dozen people. Although there were not many of them, every one of them was a peerless expert, emitting a terrifying aura. The sight caused Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon to come to a stop. Lin Xian frowned. The dark red divine dragon looked into the distance and screamed. Fuck, it's the Yin Yang Saint. The asterisk in it, he's really haunting me. That's right, the Yin Yang Saint and his people came out of the crack. Once the Yin Yang Saint appeared, the Yin and Yang Qi in his body circulated, dispelling the dizziness from the space. Then he looked around. In an instant, he locked onto the 2 figures in front of him. When he saw Lin Xian, he revealed a sinister smile. Kid, it's really you. He was too excited. For more than a year, he had dreamed of killing Lin Xian every day. Lin Xian seemed to have become a demon in his heart. If he did not kill Lin Xian, his future martial path would not be too smooth. Therefore he had to kill Lin Xian. He wanted to let the world know that he, the Yin Yang Saint, was the most powerful. Kid, get over here and die. The Yin Yang Saint stepped out and instantly appeared a few hundred meters in front of Lin Xian. He looked down from high above like a Yin Yang immortal king. Lin Xian laughed. You really don't know what's good for you. I've already struck you twice last time, and you still dare to look for me? Why do you think you can defeat me this time? I say you better get lost. Trash like you is not worthy of my attack. But if you really provoke me, I don't mind killing you again. By then your Yin Yang sect will have nowhere to cry. What a sharp-tongued kid. The Yin Yang Saint snorted. No matter what you say, you can't escape death this time. I'm no longer the same person as before. Speaking up to this point, the Yin Yang Saint snorted. The energy in his body exploded and swept around. The energy of a late-stage 7-star king swept through the area. Seeing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. I was wondering what it was. So it was you who broke through. Is this your trump card? Chapter 2601. Stop bragging. The current me is many times stronger than before. The Yin-Yang Saint roared. He really wanted to prove his strength. Lin Xian sneered. Do you think you're the only one who broke through? Did I not break through? As he spoke, he took a step forward. Sword chi erupted from his body. Shadows of lightning swords circled around him from all directions. Late-stage 7-star king. He was also a late-stage 7-star king. This kid had also broken through. The Yin-Yang sect cultivators were shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to have such talent and strength. The Yin-Yang Saint also frowned. But soon he sneered. Lin Xian's breakthrough was within his expectations. He knew that Lin Xian had obtained a large number of treasures in the ancient tomb. He would definitely be able to break through. However, other than his own strength, he still had a few other trump cards up his sleeves for this trip. He had mastered 2 of the Yin-Yang sect's ultimate techniques. These 2 ultimate techniques were very difficult to master. Hence, he did not master them in the ancient tomb. However, after the previous failure, he had instead succeeded in cultivating these 2 absolute arts. This was his biggest trump card. The second trump card was the fragment of a saint that he had brought with him. This way he would be able to block Lin Xian's sage fragment. He believed that without the saint's fragment, he would be able to kill the other party with the help of his 2 divine abilities. The Yin-Yang Saint walked out. He pulled out the Yin-Yang sword on his back. A terrifying aura filled the air. The entire sky was boiling. This time I will definitely kill you. The Yin-Yang sword slashed down. A terrifying light tore through the void. Facing the terrifying sword light, Lin Xian waved his arm. Countless lightning bolts appeared around him. Then they turned into lightning sword chi and slashed out. This was the 9-fold thunder sword that he had just learned. He wanted to see how powerful it was. Whoosh! Lightning sword chi filled the air. Lightning sword shadows lined up in the sky and turned into a sea of lightning. The Yin-Yang sword chi and lightning sword chi collided and tore through the void. Boom! The lightning sword chi was swept away. The Yin-Yang sword chi slashed down. Lin Xian's figure flashed, dodging the attack and appearing in another space. Seeing this, the Yin-Yang Saint smiled. Kid, did you see that? My strength has changed tremendously compared to before. You are no longer a match for me. Lin Xian ignored the other party. He nodded slightly. Not bad. The power of the 9-fold thunder sword had exceeded his expectations. He had only cultivated for a few days, but he already had such power. Thinking about it, after successfully cultivating it, it would definitely be extremely terrifying. Thinking of this, a few streaks of lightning appeared in his eyes. Once again he activated the 9-fold lightning sword and charged over. Streaks of thunder swords circled in the sky, forming numerous thunder beasts that roared in the void. The Yin-Yang Saint waved his Yin-Yang sword and swept it in all directions. He finally gained the upper hand this time. Seeing this, the Yin-Yang Saint was very proud. Kid, hurry up and display your ultimate move. Otherwise you won't have a chance. Wait till you hurt me before you say that. Lin Xian snorted and pulled out the ancient dragon abyss sword. Thunder wound. An ultimate move flashed past like lightning. The terrifying thunder turned into a magical sword light and charged out. This ultimate move was very fast. It struck the Yin-Yang Saint like a bolt of lightning. The Yin-Yang Saint was shocked. But at this moment his figure instantly disappeared. He actually dodged it? The dark red divine dragon was shocked. Lin Xian was also surprised. This thunder wound was an attack that specialized in speed. How could the other party dodge it? He had to admit that this was beyond his expectations. This guy's speed was so fast. He was no weaker than his demigods and semi-devils. The last time he saw him, he didn't seem to have such a magical footwork. Otherwise he wouldn't have been able to kill him so easily. It seems that not only did your strength increase but you also have a new superpower. Lin Xian didn't continue attacking. Instead he stared into the distance. In the distance, the Yin-Yang Saint's figure appeared. He looked very proud. Of course. My Yin-Yang Saint is very powerful. I have many superpowers. It's definitely not something you can imagine. Now I'll show you my chaotic Yin-Yang inverse steps. This was a terrifying footwork. It had reached an extremely high level and was very difficult to master. So until now the Yin-Yang Saint had only just mastered it. But he had just mastered it. That was incredible. His power had increased by a lot. As expected, when he used the chaotic yin-yang inverse steps, his figure was very fast. In an instant he appeared behind Lin Xian. Whoosh! The yin-yang sword lashed out at Lin Xian. However, it was blocked by Lin Xian. Lin Xian clenched his left fist and punched out. Heaven battling divine fist. Boom. With one punch, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. It was very terrifying. However, the chaotic yin-yang inverse steps was also very terrifying. He dodged it instantly. Bus. Useless brat, you can't keep up with my speed now. The yin-yang saint came to the other side of Lin Xian again. He swung the yin-yang sword in his hand. In the blink of an eye, he left hundreds and thousands of afterimages around Lin Xian. Every time he appeared, he launched a fierce attack. The terrifying yin-yang sword light enveloped Lin Xian. Boom. Lin Xian's body roared. A dragon rushed into the sky and knocked away all the yin-yang sword light. The ancient Taoist robe on Lin Xian's body burned fiercely, forming a strong defense. Chaotic yin-yang inverse steps? Very powerful indeed. You can keep up with my speed. However, you don't have any advantage. My speed isn't any weaker than yours. At this point, Lin Xian used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps with all his might. His speed also soared to the limit. The two figures appeared and disappeared in the sky. They were extremely fast. Even the yin-yang sect cultivators in the distance were shocked. Damn it, this brat is so fast. Yes, he can even catch up with our saint. Heavens, what kind of footwork is he using? How can it be comparable to our yin-yang sect's ultimate technique? These people were all stunned. The yin-yang saint's face also darkened. Originally he had the upper hand. This feeling of suppression made him feel very good. However, he did not expect that once his opponent's speed increased, his original advantage would disappear. Damn it! Damn it! The yin-yang saint attacked wildly. However, his opponent's lightning sword chi was very terrifying. It was difficult for him to break through in a short time. Moreover, his opponent had an extremely violent fist that seemed to be able to destroy heaven and earth. This also threatened him. Bus. The yin-yang saint formed a seal and activated 3 yin-yang shields. They formed a triangle and rotated in front of him. It resisted Lin Xian's terrifying attack. At the same time he slashed out a few more yin-yang sword lights. Then he retreated and put away his yin-yang sword. He raised his hands high above his head. Chapter 2602. The yin-yang saint's yin and yang qi circulated rapidly. Then a black and white bottle appeared. The moment the bottle appeared, thousands of auras enveloped Lin Xian. Yin-yang bottle, keep. With a whoosh, Lin Xian was sucked in. The yin-yang bottle spun in the sky, emitting a mysterious power. The yin-yang saint laughed loudly. Ah! Kid, let's see how you escape this time. He was very proud. Once one entered the yin-yang bottle, they could forget about leaving. The purest yin and yang qi inside was enough to destroy any strong cultivator and turn them into a pool of blood. Damn, kid, are you alright? The dark red divine dragon was shocked to see this. He did not expect Lin Xian to be sucked in instead of dodging. He could not help but want to attack. In the distance, the yin-yang saint and the others laughed wildly. They looked at the dark red dragon and sneered. Damn snake, just you wait. After we turn that kid into a pool of blood, it will be your turn. Inside the yin-yang treasure vase, terrifying yin-yang qi permeated the air and completely enveloped Lin Xian, wanting to refine him. The yin-yang qi was far beyond Lin Xian's imagination. It was too terrifying. Probably no one below the invincible king level could resist it. Damn it, the yin-yang saint had really become stronger. Lin Xian frowned. The flames from his ancient Taoist robe were suppressed. It looked like he would really be melted in no time. Umph. Lin Xian snorted. The dragon sword soul erupted from his body. Streaks of dragon-shaped sword chi rushed out and slashed in all directions. When the dragon sword soul collided with the yin-yang qi, there was a sizzling sound. The yin-yang qi was being destroyed bit by bit. Seeing this, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Although the yin-yang qi was powerful, it was still lacking compared to the dragon sword soul. He waved his hand and dragon-shaped sword chi surrounded him, protecting his body. However, although the dragon sword soul could destroy the yin-yang qi, it was not fast. Could only protect himself. Lin Xian still could not get out. This yin-yang great Tao treasure bottle was indeed miraculous. Lin Xian was shocked. Even the great dragon sword soul, which had such a powerful attack power, was only able to wear down a little and maintain a temporary balance. It was unable to break through with a single strike. He had to admit that the divine powers of the Yin-Yang sect were truly terrifying. However, it wasn't as if he had no other way. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian's eyes shone with a golden light. Suddenly, one black seed after another floated out of the void. It was the Dark Night magical gold that had created the Dark Night insects. After summoning them, Lin Xian controlled the 100 night bugs to madly attack. These Dark Night bugs were terrifying. They could even chew through top treasures. Therefore, under their crazy attacks they were able to bite through the yin and yang qi. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian was overjoyed. He directly sent out the great dragon sword spirit. With the help of the Dark Night insect, he began to frantically crack the yin-yang great Dao bottle. Outside, the yin-yang saint and the other experts of the yin-yang sect sneered. They knew that the other party wouldn't be able to return alive after entering the bottle. Therefore they looked at the dark red divine dragon. Damn snake, are you going to die on your knees, or are you going to be pierced through the heart by our arrows? The snake looks pretty good. It should be a powerful demon king. If we peel off its skin and stew it as snake soup, it'll definitely be very nutritious. Behind them, the experts of the yin-yang sect sneered and stared at the dark red divine dragon. The dark red divine dragon was enraged. Damn it, how dare you target me? Go to hell. Bang. Suddenly, the arrogant expert of the yin-yang sect exploded into pieces. Blood splattered on the faces of the people around him. Seeing this, everyone screamed in horror. Their bodies shone brightly as they quickly put up a defense. Damn it. Who did this to him? They were going crazy. The yin-yang saint stared at the dark red divine dragon. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Could it be that the other party did this? But he didn't see the other party attack. The dark red divine dragon snorted. You want to eat me? I'll test all of you first. He opened his mouth and spat out flames. The flames filled the entire space and enveloped the yin-yang saint and the people of the yin-yang sect. Damn snake, how dare you attack us? Kill him. The experts of the yin-yang sect were enraged. The yin-yang saint snorted. The yin-yang shield spun around him and blocked the flames. The experts of the yin-yang sect behind him also used their magical powers to resist the flames. However, the dark red divine dragon was very powerful now. He wasn't any weaker than the yin-yang saint. Therefore, many of the martial artists were careless and were set on fire. They were instantly turned into ashes. Damn it, this guy is terrifying. Quick, defend. Everyone exclaimed. Someone opened his mouth and spat out seawater, trying to extinguish the flames. However, the moment the seawater touched the flames, it evaporated into steam and covered the sky. Damn it, use the yin-yang water to extinguish it. A few people quickly formed hand seals. The yin-yang qi on their bodies turned into a yin-yang sea and rushed out. Only then did they manage to block the terrifying flames. However, in such a short period of time, a few experts had died. Many more were injured. Everyone looked forward in fear and anger. They didn't expect a snake to be so powerful. The yin-yang saint's face also darkened. The other party's power shocked him. It seemed that he had to do it himself. The next moment he pulled out the yin-yang sword. His aura exploded wildly. Very well, let me kill you myself. The dark red divine dragon snorted. Come, come, come. Grandpa Dragon will play with you. He wasn't afraid of the yin-yang saint. The yin-yang saint roared. You're courting death. He held his sword and charged forward. However, before he could attack, there was a sudden explosion above him. A terrifying energy swept out in all directions. What happened? Everyone was terrified. Many experts of the yin-yang sect were sent flying by the energy and spat out blood. The yin-yang saint's pupils constricted. He used the chaotic yin-yang steps and instantly disappeared in the air. The dark red divine dragon retreated quickly. However, it screamed happily. Because the great Dao treasure bottle above was broken. A human figure rushed out from the vase above. Kid, I knew you wouldn't die so easily. The dark red divine dragon laughed. The yin-yang sect members were stunned. What? That kid rushed out? How could that be? They looked as if they had seen a ghost. The yin-yang saint was also shocked. His face was full of horror. Impossible. Damn it. The yin-yang treasure bottle can refine everything. How did that kid get out? He was indeed crazy. According to his understanding of the yin-yang treasure bottle, anyone below the invincible king level would never be able to come out. However, the other party had come out. Damn it. The yin-yang saint gritted his teeth. He held the yin-yang sword and charged forward again. At the same time, he secretly activated the saint's fragment in his hand. He wanted to kill Lin Fan in one blow. A bolt of lightning shot out, creating a dazzling light. It tore the space apart and charged toward Lin Xian. Chapter 2603. Oh no, this is the power of a sage. A fragment of a sage. Damn it, this guy actually brought a fragment of a sage and attacked suddenly. He wants to kill me. The dark red dragon gritted its teeth. Lin Xian's expression was also cold. You want to kill me with just a fragment of a sage? Stop dreaming. I have a fragment of a sage too. The next moment he threw out the sage's hand bone and tore open a corner of the seal. Suddenly the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Strong winds swept across, causing a strange phenomenon. The two fragments of a sage clashed in the sky, and a terrifying force pierced through all directions. The powerful cultivators of the Yin-Yang sect retreated, their faces full of shock. It was too terrifying. They could not withstand this force at all. Do you think you can kill me? Lin Xian sneered after blocking the opponent's attack. The Yin-Yang saint's face darkened. He did not expect his opponent to react so quickly and block his ultimate attack. The next moment he stood in the sky with a black and white mirror floating above his head. Only 1/3 of it was intact. It looked like a Yin-Yang mirror. I can still kill you without a fragment of a sage. The Yin-Yang saint gritted his teeth. Lin Xian laughed. Is that so? You don't have a fragment of a sage, but I do. Ruffian dragon, go and kill him. What, you still have a fragment of a sage? Hearing this, the Yin-Yang saint's eyelids twitched violently. The powerful cultivators of the Yin-Yang sect behind him also exclaimed. How can there be 2 fragments of a sage? Impossible, he must be lying. The fragments of a sage are so precious. How can he have 2? Moreover, he can't control 2 fragments at once. He must be scaring us. The people of the Yin-Yang sect roared angrily. The Yin-Yang saint sneered. Do you think I'll believe you? How can you have 2 fragments of a sage? Is that so? Lin Xian sneered and did not explain. The dark red dragon flew over. Damn Yin-Yang saint, you wanted to kill me just now. Now have a taste of your own medicine. But you're lucky to die in the hands of a sage's fragment. You're worthy of your status as a saint. At this point, the dark red dragon opened its mouth, and a broken pagoda appeared in its mouth. The pagoda was about the size of a palm. It was extremely dilapidated, and many parts of it were filled with cracks. This was the fragment of the saint that he had snatched from Jianghu. After the crimson divine dragon had obtained it, it had proceeded to seal and refine it. At this moment, it was finally able to control it. At this moment, the dark red divine dragon appeared and tore apart a corner of the seal. Suddenly, light swept across the sky like a sun. Boom. The dark red dragon waved its claw and the broken pagoda flew out. Its power was like a vast ocean as it rushed towards the Yin-Yang sun. No, the Yin-Yang saint's face turned green. He didn't expect that Yi Fuqian really had a second saint fragment. There was no way he could resist it. The next moment he turned around and fled. He used the chaotic Yin-Yang steps to the extreme and even turned into a light shadow, instantly disappearing on the spot. However, the attack of the saint's fragment was extremely powerful. Although he managed to dodge the most fatal attack, the shockwaves from the saint's fragment still struck his body and knocked him out of the void. Bang! Half of the Yin-Yang saint's body was shattered, and he spat out blood. Ruffian Long, leave his storage ring behind. Lin Xian said from the side. The dark red dragon nodded. Don't worry, nothing will go wrong when I attack. He controlled the broken pagoda again and charged over. Another attack. Saint. In the distance, the Yin-Yang sect's elites roared crazily. They all used their ultimate techniques and attacks, wanting to kill the Yin-Yang saint. However, no matter how strong their attacks were, they were nothing in front of the saint's fragment. The Yin-Yang saint also roared and used the chaotic Yin-Yang steps again. At the same time, he used all the ultimate techniques and treasures he could use to resist the attack. Boom, 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 boom. Heaven and earth rumbled and light shrouded millions of miles. The tremors caused the beasts below to roar. When everything disappeared, only clouds of blood mist were left in the sky. The Yin-Yang saint had long disappeared, leaving behind 2 storage rings and a Yin-Yang sword. The saint. Seeing this, the Yin-Yang sect's elites roared crazily. Dead. Their Yin-Yang saint was actually dead. This was like a bolt from the blue. They could not accept it at all. Previously, their holy son had been in high spirits, leading them to kill the other party. They also thought that their saint's strength had increased greatly, and he also had the saint's fragment. They thought that it would be a piece of cake. However, they did not expect that the other party would be fine, but their saint would be killed. It's over. This is a huge shock. The Yin-Yang sect would definitely go crazy. After all, the death of a saint was a huge matter for a sacred ground. Damn brat, you killed our saint. You're dead meat. The Yin-Yang sect will not let you off. The Yin-Yang sect elites roared crazily. Lin Xian snorted. Ruffian Long, kill them all. Don't let any of them off. I'll take the Yin-Yang mirror. Lin Xian activated the saint's hand bone and charged toward the Yin-Yang mirror. Although the Yin-Yang saint was no longer controlling it, the Yin-Yang mirror resisted with all its might. The Yin-Yang chi on it turned into two Yin-Yang chilants roaring loudly. Boom, boom. The two sides were locked in a fierce battle. The Crimson Godly Dragon used the broken pagoda to kill all the experts of the Yin-Yang sect. Then he turned around to help Lin Xian. The two of them worked together to suppress the Yin-Yang mirror. Finally, the Yin-Yang mirror was suppressed by the two great sages' fragments. In the end it was sealed. Ah, I'm rich. I'm really rich this time. The dark red dragon laughed loudly. Felt so good. Not only did he kill the Yin-Yang saint, but he also obtained a saint's fragment. This was definitely a powerful trump card. Apart from that, he also obtained a heaven-class sword, the Yin-Yang sword. There was also the Yin-Yang saint's storage ring. Lin Xian put away all the spoils of war, then turned around and left. Jianghu, a fairyland. This was the Yin-Yang sect. At this moment, a Yin-Yang token suddenly cracked from the middle in one of the Yin-Yang sect's halls. Then it split into two and fell to the ground. The elites guarding at the side stood up abruptly when they saw this. Their expressions were extremely ugly. The Yin-Yang saint had died. How could this be? He was too shocked. This Yin-Yang token contained a trace of the Yin-Yang saint's soul origin. It could record his condition. If the Yin-Yang saint was killed, this Yin-Yang token would break instantly. Now that it was broken, it meant that the Yin-Yang saint was killed. But who dared to kill the Yin-Yang saint? He did not know, but this was definitely shocking. He hurriedly sent the news over. As expected, the entire Yin-Yang sect was enraged. A terrifying murderous aura tore through the sky. Clang, 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 the entire Yin-Yang sect was filled with the deep sound of a bell that reverberated throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. At the same time, a cold voice sounded. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.